Bop da pop pop pop. Scooby dooby boo wop pop pop. Pop pop ba da pop. Scooby dooby bop bop bop. Let's get the show on the road. Let's get the show on the road.
I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati.
Dooby doo, and welcome back, guys. So great to see you again. I missed you guys on Sunday. We had a great weekend, though. It was great meeting some of you at the Icarus Fest in New Jersey. So nice to see your faces, to see who you are in person. So that was a great event. Shout out to Thaddeus, who put that all together. Shout out to the Gray Zone, everybody who was there. I think it was a great event, and I had a really good time. But welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. Welcome to Sabby Sabs podcast. I'm your host here, Sabrina Salvati. If you're new, I want to let you know that Sabby Sabs podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Thursdays for the Sabby and JB show. And you can catch me here on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays, ladies and gents. We have a big show for you tonight, especially since I was not live this past Sunday. I also have a teaser video for my documentary, which I promised I would show to you guys. So I'm excited about that. We've already received positive feedback. I haven't had a chance to tell my editor, Scott, about that yet, but I'll be meeting with him tomorrow to let him know that people are really applauding his editing skills. So kudos and shout out to Scott there. So much to get into, ladies and gents. Tonight's theme is It Has Come to This. Now, we have 6 stories that we are covering tonight. One of them is not on that thumbnail. It is a surprise story that just happened about 2-3 hours ago. But we got to put that in the mix. We got to put it into the mix. First and foremost, let's go ahead and give some shout outs to everybody in the chat. What is going on, fammy fam? Greetings, Kathy says, interesting. What's up, Kathy? Shout out to Athkalim says, MEHDI HASAN is a sack of shit. A quote from Professor Norm Finkelstein. Sounds like something Norma say. Shout out to Tim says, hey, Sabby, don't forget your YouTube plaque. Yes. Keep reminding me. I'm so sorry. I've been so busy. Documentary looks great. Can't wait. By the way, let's go. Free the people. For the people. Free Palestine. Hello, Eric in chat. Vote third party and tear down the duopoly. Shout out to Philip says, MEHDI is M16. Greeting Blockbuster says, hi. Shout out the church says, this is a real debate or just Ali talking about Hassan. It was a back and forth between both of them. We'll get into it. Greetings, Thon says, Thon Vano, snap. Hi, fam, and I hope y'all having a wonderful day and evening. I love Monique and Precious. She sure can act. Yeah, she's a really great actress, and I just, one of the things I say is she's not backing down, and some people disagree and feel like she should. I don't. I think she's going about this the right way. Shout out to Lorez says, hello, Sabby, Eric, Corey, and RBN fam. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Sabby, are you excited for this the Patriot season? I am. I'm feeling a little bit more hopeful than I was at the beginning of last season. Although I would say I wish Gerard Mayo was still there as coach. I didn't think it was fair what they did to him, knowing that he had a failed roster to begin with the exception of quarterback. But hopefully things can turn around this go round. Shout out to Mr. says, Sabby, Sabs, RBN, Wonder Twin Powers activate. Greetings, Cup of Joy. Sabby was great moderating the amazing panel over the weekend. Thank you. Thanks. I'm glad you guys think I did a good job. Shout out to CBC Voter says, happy Tuesday, Sabby. Eric, call in night after the show. Call in will be on Thursday. We have a very special guest coming Thursday. They're a first timer on the show, so I think you'll understand why we'll have it Thursday. Greetings, Ali says, free Palestine. Shout out to Hannah says, free Monique. Greetings to my comrade JB says, Sabs, I just want to congratulate you on not only your documentary, but also reaching 230,000 subscribers. You're doing the damn thing and making me proud. Love you, sis. Thank you, JB. That's so sweet. JB's doing the damn thing too. Guys, make sure if you are not subscribed to JB's channel, JB also has his own channel. Make sure you subscribe to that because he has really, really great, great discussions and great guests. Thank you. What's up, Kat? Says JB sent me. Well, hello. Greetings, Kimi says also good evening to JB, Eric, Corey, and of course, the hostess with the mostest, Sabby. Let's roll that beautiful doobie music. Hey. And greetings, Matt says, who prints the money controls U.S. Congress, the military industrial complex, and politicians, including Trump. There you go. And shout out to Ophelia says, hey, all, congratulations, Sabby. I enjoyed watching the Icarus Fest. Y'all did great. Thank you, guys. That is so good to hear because you never know, like when you're up there doing these things, you never know. You don't know how well you do. You just don't know. But we received really good feedback. And like I said, I think Thaddeus did a great job putting this all together. Great discussion, great conversation. I thought all the panels were fire. So yeah, quite so much to get into. Like I said, tonight's theme is It Has Come to This. First and foremost, let's go ahead and give a shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. Really do appreciate you around here, fam. If you are interested in being a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories. Ultimate, Sabinators, and they're no haters. Also, there are Sabsters. We also have Sabbies in the house doing the damn thing. And we cannot forget about members. All of their names are listed here, folks. And you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen there on the ticker. Thank you guys so much for your support. I think there may be newbies I need to add, but I was out for the weekend, so I will hope to get that updated for you as quickly as possible. All right, ladies and gents, what are we discussing tonight? Let's go ahead and pull up that thumbnail. Like I said, we actually have 6 stories for you. We have a surprise story that just dropped that we do need to get into. Tonight, ladies and gents, we are discussing MEHDI Hasan versus Ali Abunimah. Ali is from Electronic Intifada. Great outlet there. I don't know if you guys follow Electronic Intifada. I'm assuming you probably do. If you don't, what are you doing? What are you waiting for? You definitely need to follow them. They do tremendous work, and it's not just their YouTube channel. You need to follow their written journalism as well. So if you look on their website, you can see all of this, but doing tremendous work. This discussion, back and forth between MEHDI Hassan and Ali, I think this is one for the ages. And I think it really does show something. And we're going to get into that tonight. We're also going to discuss Donald Trump. Donald Trump is pissing people off. Donald Trump, and this is a twofer, okay? So this is one big story, but we're putting them together because I'm doing that to prove a point. Donald Trump wants to criminalize burning the American flag. Yes, indeed. He has also agreed to allow 600,000 students from China to attend university here in the United States. This goes back on, of course, his stance of America first, etc. And I'm going to explain to you what both of these situations are really about, because I think if you scratch your brain here, you can figure it out, right? So Donald Trump running on one thing and pushing forward different policies. We're also going to discuss, if you are not aware of actress Monique, she is very vocal. She has been blackballed within the Hollywood industry, unfortunately, but she is not alone. And she is not going quiet. She just did an interview recently, and she said she is not backing down until she receives a public apology. And honestly, I'm on Team Monique with this one. We'll get into all of that. We're also going to discuss Israel strikes a hospital in Gaza twice, killing journalists. This is a big story. Israel's trying to walk their way out of this one. No. That is not going to happen over here. And also, we are discussing, this is a big, I think this story should receive more attention. Kim Iversen, something just happened to her that could happen to any one of us. And she made a video about it. We're going to talk about that and why we all need to be careful. I'm also going to tell you things that you can do to try your best to prevent it from happening to you. But, you know, these things could still happen. But what happened to Kim there, I don't want you to feel like just because, you know, it happened to her because she's a pretty big name in news media, whether it's YouTube or Rumble, but it's just not her. It can happen to any one of you guys. And so I'm glad she was able to get this resolved, because it was scary hearing about what happened to her. And last but not least, we have a surprise story. And I think I'm going to start with that one first. And that is, believe it or not, Patrick Bet-David from PBD Podcast just interviewed Benjamin Netanyahu. And from my opinion, from what I saw in this interview, he was bowing down to Benjamin Netanyahu, not pushing back. And there's one thing that he said that is very cringe, and people are ratioing him right now on social media for it. So there's a lot going on. When I say it has come to this, it has come to this, ladies and gents. If you have not had a chance to do so, do me a favor, do me a solid and smash that like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. Let's go ahead and get into this first story, folks, ladies and gents. This is freaking crazy. So before I was, getting ready for this live stream, all of a sudden, something appeared on my X feed, and it's this interview that I just posted with Patrick Bet-David from PBD Podcasts. You know, Patrick Bet-David, the guy who did that pyramid scheme. Yeah, we don't forget. This interview with him and Benjamin Netanyahu, and the way that he is talking to Benjamin Netanyahu as though he is a bro, a buddy, a pal, instead of the genocidal maniac that he is, it is absolutely disgusting. Let's go ahead and get into it, ladies and gents. Again, yes, I tell you, people will do anything. Some people will do anything for money, anything for views. Let's get into it.
Hague are telling you that. This ICC, this corrupt ICC prosecutor, thought that he would escape justice by basically by condemning us. And that's what he's done. And I think a lot of countries are waking up to that. It's sort of embarrassing when your chief prosecutor is doing such a corrupt and heinous thing. But that's the ICC. I mean, President Trump has put sanctions on him. He's put sanctions on the judges who did this. I think he's just facing it. That's what I like about him. He just cuts to the chase. This is a corrupt organization, a corrupt prosecutor, corrupt judges, and reminds me of that movie. You remember Network? I think.
Yes.
He said, we're not going to take it anymore. And it's not just Israel, because if they target Israel and they say to a democracy defending itself against these savages, you can't defend yourself, then no democracy is safe, and America isn't safe.
Pause right here. So here is Benjamin Netanyahu interviewing here with Patrick Bet-David, and he has already said a couple of things. He has already congratulated Donald Trump for putting sanctions on the ICC. 2, he is once again using that word, these savages, calling them savages. Now, I don't know why Patrick Bet-David decided to do an interview with Benjamin Netanyahu other than to make money. That's the only thing I can think of, other than to make money. And as we know from the past with Patrick Bet-David and his pyramid scheme, he will do what he wants to do to make money. If you're willing to go up there and exploit workers so that you can come out on top, what would you not do, right? What would you not do? So as embarrassing as this should be for Patrick Bet-David, it's not. He just wants to cash a check. Let's continue.
So I think that's come out. There is extraordinary vilification, extraordinary lies leveled at Israel, and they're meant to prevent us from exercising our right, our legitimate right of self-defense. They won't succeed.
So if we talk about the legitimate right for you to defend yourself, you'll see the numbers. I'm a business guy. I'll see how this war has cost you roughly 120 to 130 billion dollars, whether it's Hamas, Gaza, Iran. Roughly 120 to 130 billion dollars, reports that we read. Your debt to GDP ratio went from 60% to 75%. So some of the Americans, they're sitting there saying, yeah, we give you guys roughly 3.8 billion. For the war, America's given roughly $30 billion, which most of it was in weapons. But if you're going from 60 to 75%, how much longer can your economy or even the state be able to afford the war?
Problem number 2. Why is Patrick Bet-David talking about dollars and cents instead of the lives that are being lost? You heard him first. He said, I am a businessman. Yeah, he's a businessman. That's why he wanted to have this interview with Benjamin Netanyahu so he can make himself some money. Can you believe this? We're talking about children being killed, children being starved. There's a famine in Gaza, which the UN has declared. Other human rights organizations have declared as well. But you want to talk about, can you afford to keep this going? And at this point, this is not a war. This is a genocide. But what is on Patrick Bet-David's mind is, will you be able to afford to continue this? Why do you care if Israel is able to afford to keep killing children? Why do you care? What are you talking about? Why are you so concerned about Israel's economy? Think about that for a second. Do you see Patrick Bet-David interviewing people from Gaza? Do you see him talking to any of them? It's a crazy world we live in, folks. This is what I mean when I say it has come to this.
Patrick, I'm going to have some good news for you.
Please.
I led as first as finance minister and then as prime minister, a free market revolution in Israel. And Israel became a wealthy country because of, we unleashed the genius in our population and innovators and just incredible capacity to produce products and services that service all mankind in medicine and communications. That cell phone that you're probably holding has half of it is probably made in Israel. And the cherry tomatoes that you eat, they were made in Israel and so on. And medicines that you use, made in Israel. So Israel became a powerhouse, a juggernaut of innovation and enterprise. And it strengthened our economy. We went from $17,000 per capita to about $60,000 in a very short time. It's a tremendous success story. Now, here's the truth. This is something I just saw, a slide. I wish I had it here. Too bad. But the slide shows investments in in R&D that a country receives from foreign sources. So number one is the United States, like huge. Number two, in absolute terms, now as we speak today, is Israel, tiny Israel. The next country is Germany. It's 2/3 of Israel, and the rest of the Western countries fall further and further behind. So our economy is actually doing quite well, I should say, and it's amazing. And you're right to ask it. But there was an economic miracle in Israel, which I'm very proud to have led. And we just have this resilient capacity, both in our economy, but also in our fighting spirit.
So first and foremost, once again, Israel would not do as well as it did. I don't even believe him that the economy is as great as he says it is. I think he's lying. But it wouldn't do as well as it did if it wasn't for the money that came from the United States. We give them $3.8 billion every year. They have universal health care in Israel. Everyone in Israel can attend college there for free. And we don't even have those amenities here for people in the United States. Yet you have politicians sitting around here pointing their fingers, politicians that are pro-Israel, pointing their fingers at politicians that are identifying as a socialist. And they're calling them names. And they're saying, no, we can't have these universal policies. But you are taking money from AIPAC and you are putting legislation on the books to make sure that Israel can continue to have those policies that you don't want here. It's just absolutely alarming. Absolutely alarming. Patrick Bet-David should be ashamed of himself. But again, he's not, because he just wants to make money.
You know, we've gone through the Holocaust, and I'm committed, as are my people, to prevent a second Holocaust that Iran was planning. And that's what we've been doing in this war. It's taken this long because we had to break this noose of death that Iran was going to put on us in their plans to conquer the Middle East, in their plans to then proceed to Europe, and in their plans to then proceed to America. They say death to America. We're just standing in their way. And boy, did we stand in their way.
Talk about the difference between what someone says and what someone does, right? So Israel wants you to focus on what Hamas has said, what Iran has said, but they don't want you to focus on what they are actually doing. Killing people, killing children, and getting away with it. And this cannot be said enough. And here they are. Let's talk about what people in Iran may have said instead of talking about what Israel is actually doing. He mentions the Holocaust only to identify that with him and with the Israelis. But they are actively exterminating an entire population of people right now in Gaza, at the same time stealing people's homes in the West Bank. And Patrick Bet-David brings this clown onto the show, offers very little pushback. He's talking to Benjamin Netanyahu like they're just sitting down having a beer instead of calling him out as the genocidal maniac that he is. That is the problem with this conversation. That's the problem. Of all the people. And then you got to be fair to both sides. You're not talking to anybody in Gaza. You're not talking to those people. So here you have another person who they claim to be independent, but they're treating Netanyahu with kid gloves, just like corporate media does. And I don't think he's independent anyway, but you get the point.
So I guess the question to kind of move on from this one, do you see yourself, if you're saying the war is not going on for too long, if this thing takes a couple more years, do you see yourself getting to a point that you're going to need to the American taxpayers and need more money and support, or are you able to sustain the expenditure that you have right now?
Yeah, I think we've organized that, and we're perfectly able to do that. I want you to know one other thing. I think Israel is different from your other allies. We spend an inordinate amount of our GDP, inordinate amount, to defend ourselves. I think one of your senators said something very, very true. He said, if we had in Israel, next to in Afghanistan, or if we had another Israel there, you know, we wouldn't have spent $1 trillion or trillions of dollars. Israel is receiving and is very grateful for the American military assistance at about $3.8 billion a year, and 80% of it is spent in the United States. That's the deal. So it helps American industries, but we also produce these incredible weapons that we share with the United States. We produce intel that is invaluable for the United States. You're familiar with the Five Eyes, Patrick? You know what that is? You know all these countries that are part of the American intelligence system? Well, there's a sixth eye, Israel. It's a very powerful eye, and we share our intel with the American intelligence services. And that's why the bond is so strong. It's not only a bond of values of our common Judeo-Christian civilization, and it is really a war of civilization against the barbarians that we're fighting. But it's
pause. So here we are again, where Patrick Bet-David, he's sitting right there talking to Patrick Bet-David, and he goes on to call the other people barbarians. Patrick Bet-David does not push back on this rhetoric. He allowed him to sit there and say savages, no pushback. Barbarians, no pushback, right? So Patrick Bet-David, if you think that Benjamin Netanyahu only feels that way about the Palestinians, no, he feels that way about the Arab American community, period. Period. You know, think about what they did to Chris Smalls. And he sits right there and offers no pushback whatsoever. Benjamin Netanyahu is going on this podcast tour to try to give people a different perception of Israel so that they'll be better back in the American eyes, so that the approval rating will not continue to decline. So the approval rating will increase for Israel. And so that Israel, they can say, look, we're no longer losing support from the American people. And to people entertaining this sick individual, what the hell is wrong with you? Seriously, what the hell is wrong with you? Would you let Hitler come on? And see, somebody say, when you say that, oh, Sabby, you're taking that too far. No, I'm not taking it too far. He is still using the same language that he's used in videos. He's using it to Patrick Bet-David's face. And he says nothing. You know why? Because Patrick Bet-David feels the same damn way. Patrick Bet-David was so willing, let's go forward a little bit forward here, so willing to be accepted, you know? So willing to be accepted by the business class, by the billionaires, so willing to be accepted by even white supremacy that he will sit there and let Benjamin Netanyahu call Arab American people savages and barbarians and not say a goddamn thing. That's disgusting. That is sick. But he'll go along with it because he's trying to get paid. It's just absolute ridiculous. And then what kills me is then other people will go on to Patrick Bet-David's show, and it's as if they don't see these conversations happening.
Of course, although President Trump did a great thing by joining in that precise strike that he didn't start World War III. It didn't bring thousands of American troops on the ground in Iran, but it did. It was a magnificent addition to our brave soldiers. So I have to tell you, I think it's a partnership that is going to go on for a long, long time. As far as I'm concerned, for all time.
Prime Minister, what do you say to the critics who say, Israel owns America, Israel is who makes America do things they want them to do, whether it's through AIPAC, whether it's through, funding, money. You'll typically hear this. This has been overly said the last couple of years in a major way. And there's a community of Americans that at this point believe that whatever Israel wants, they make a phone call to America. America better do or else. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely not. I think it's full of hokum. First of all, do you know President?
Why would you ask him if he agrees with that? Of course, he's going to say no. And second of all, that has not been a conversation just over the past couple of years. People have been saying that for a very long time. In particular, people who have been politicians in DC that tried to give people the warning about the control, the money control, the Israeli lobby, AIPAC, how they basically buy the politicians and tell them what they want them to do. You bring this guy on your show, you give him no pushback. He sits up there and just spews lies to your audience. This is why Benjamin Netanyahu is doing this podcast tour because he is trying to get more support for Israel. That's why he's doing it. And you let him come on. He lets him come on because Patrick Bet-David don't like himself either. Patrick Bet-David, this is the truth. People don't want to hear this. Patrick Bet-David does not like himself either. He is willing to sit up there and cuck for Israel to get a check, to get whatever he needs, just like he was willing to walk on all those people who worked underneath of him in that pyramid scheme to get whatever he wanted to get. This guy is a clown, an absolute clown. This is the same guy who sat there, and I covered this before on the show, the same guy who sat there and basically said, well, black people just need to try harder because, you know, I came here and I did so great. Of course, he sits up here and he sides with the supremacy, the genocidal supremacist, Benjamin Netanyahu. That's who Patrick Bet-David is, okay? Just because you see him have these interviews with rappers and let's talk about who really killed Tupac, who came after Biggie. Patrick Bet-David don't give a damn about the black community. He cares about himself and his pocket. He don't care about the workers either. People expect him to have some type of compassion for the Palestinian people. Hell no. Patrick wants to get paid. People are going after him on X right now as we speak. Say, what the hell is wrong with you? Anything for a check, anything.
President Trump, I mean, sort of, I've known him for many years.
Sure.
Okay. You don't make him do anything. He does what he thinks is in America's interest, and he's very forceful about it. When he sees allies who don't step up to the plate, you know, he's not shy about saying it. And we have a different relationship altogether. It's not one of coercion or manipulation. It's one of common interest and common values. And I think that people understand that because Israel is different. It really is. We know that we have to fight for ourselves, and we do. But when we fight for ourselves, we fight for you too, because we fight Iran. Iran tried to murder President Trump not once, but twice. Iran killed and wounded thousands of Americans with their IEDs, explosive devices, in Iraq and Afghanistan. Iran killed 241 Marines in Beirut. They bomb your embassies. They burn American flags. They have mobs chanting, "Death to America, death to America."
Pause, because this links to the American flag story. And I want people to understand this. So he says, no, Israel's not controlling American politics. We all know that's a freaking lie. All you have to do is follow the money, and you can see that very clearly. Now you add this to the executive order from Donald Trump that was just announced this week that he wants to criminalize people who burn the American flag. I mean, connect the dots, people. Connect the dots. Donald Trump didn't do that his first term. Just put all this together and figure it out. He wants to come after Ron. And he says, well, Ron tried to kill Donald Trump twice. No proof of that. No evidence. But because Israel was saying it, you're supposed to believe it. That's how it goes. Israel doesn't have to have proof. All they have to do is tell you that something is happening, and you're supposed to believe it because they said it. It's absolutely embarrassing and disgusting. But you always have one that is willing to sell out for $1 to go along with supremacy. And Patrick Bet-David is one of those people.
So when we fight Iran, we're not just fighting our war, we're fighting your war, but we are fighting that war here in the Middle East. And let me tell you what would happen. And as someone who had been in the Middle East as a child, I think you can appreciate this. It's not only we who are threatened by Iran, it's our Arab neighbors too. They know that Iran wants to conquer them, pillage their oil fields, take over the Middle East, the maritime routes that control world trade. So they know that. But if you look at who's actually fighting Iran, it's Israel. It's Israel, our brave soldiers, our incredibly brave soldiers. And this tiny country You know, President Trump asked me, how do you guys do this? I mean, you're such a small country, you know, we're the size of New Jersey, bigger than Rhode Island, but that's it. We're slightly smaller than New Jersey. And we take on this enormous empire with all its proxies, this anti-American empire that threatens to kill the president and chance death to America. How do you do this? And I said, well, you know, you're like an enormous lion, almost like a prehistoric saber-toothed tiger. You're enormous. We're not, but we are, you know, we're the, you know, the badger, you know, this little animal.
Absolutely.
Badger. And you see a badger being, you know, some tiger or lioness is trying to kill it, and it sort of turns around. It has very sharp teeth, and it knows how to go to the weakness points, you know, to the points of vulnerability of the enemy. And you see these things. You know, I watch NGO Wild when my wife lets me, because she likes to watch cooking shows.
This is Netanyahu trying to make it seem as though he's trying to show some type of humanity, right? That's why he's bringing up his wife. See, this is all a trick. Oh, let me bring up my wife watching cooking shows, and so people can think I'm just a nice guy who's just trying to protect the people. This whole statement that he says, well, Donald Trump is asking, how do you guys do it? Okay, this is bullshit too. They have an Iron Dome. So they have a defense shield that the other countries don't have. Now, that doesn't mean that things can't get through it. It can, but they are more protected than other countries in that area. Two, the weapons, most of them come from the United States. So you see the games that are being played. Now, we're not going to sit through all of this because it literally drove me crazy even to see part of it. But this part right here, people are really, really, really roasting him at on X. And he actually had the audacity to post it. This is that he says, breaking, Benjamin Netanyahu officially recognizes the Armenian, Assyrian, and Greek genocide committed by the Ottoman Empire. Listen to this, guys. And I'll show you the responses because it's wild.
You know, the Holocaust has been recognized by 193 different countries, right? Everybody around the world. And in some countries, if you denied, you could do jail time. Many countries, you can do jail time a year, 5 years. But for anybody that doesn't recognize Armenian Assyrian genocide, if there's any country that I would have expected to be on the list that recognized the Armenian and the Assyrian and the Greek genocide, it would be Israel. Why haven't you yet recognized the Armenian, Assyrian, and the Greek genocide that the Turkish did to that community?
Before he even answers, the goal of Patrick Bet-David to ask someone who is currently committing a genocide to acknowledge other genocides. This guy has no shame. So, yes, Netanyahu is going on podcasts to try to rebuild Israel's reputation, try to humanize Israel in some way, shape, or form by mentioning his wife cooking, etc. But Patrick Bet-David is also trying to rebuild Israel's reputation. That's why he's having that conversation. He is also trying to increase support for Israel here in the United States. And that's what a lot of this is about. Yeah, he wants the money and the fame and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. But he also is trying to do the devil's work and trying to get Americans to turn that poll around and show that you have that increased support for Israel. Now, of course, Netanyahu goes on to say that he acknowledges it, but this is to prove a point. It is to prove, look, I can acknowledge that other genocides have happened. I can acknowledge that too. And so if I acknowledge that, then maybe other people will realize that we're not trying to commit a genocide in Gaza. You see how this works? Watch this.
In fact, I think we have, because I think the Knesset passed a resolution to that effect.
I don't know if it's come from you, though. I don't know if it's come from the Prime Minister of Israel.
Yeah, I just did.
Okay.
Here you go.
All right. Well, thank you for doing that.
And then he thanks him. Thank you for doing that. The sellouts sell out. So this is the little trick that Patrick Bet-David just did. Let me see if I can get Benjamin Netanyahu to acknowledge that these other genocides took place. And then people won't think he's this evil monster. And then maybe people will just compare numbers and they'll say, well, then there's not a genocide that's happening in Gaza. This is him doing the work of white supremacy. That's what Patrick Bet-David is doing, and he don't give a damn. So for all the people who come to me and say, well, Patrick Bet-David interviewed this rapper and that rapper, I don't give a damn. He can talk to whatever rapper he wants to. That doesn't mean he cares about people that are marginalized. He cares about people that are oppressed. He cares about people that are occupied. He doesn't. He just want money. He bring on people like, oh, let's bring on Tupac's friend and let's bring on this guy. He brings them on because he knows that's going to generate revenue, not because he actually gives a damn. Look at the comments. Had the nerve to actually thank him. Then he posts the full interview there. Of course, there was me. I said, what the hell is wrong with you? Blakely, is this a joke? Yeah, let's bring on the guy currently committing genocide to give his thoughts on genocide. Holy shit, this is a low even for you guys. Art. Yeah, I just did. There you go. Like throwing crumbs in front of a dog in an obvious PR maneuver aimed at saving face. Armenians don't claim you. PBD is sellout slop. The Bullish Bear, that's your breaking news. Shame on you for platforming this criminal. It goes on and on. The Savior said, no one gives a fuck. PBD, you are a sellout. Yeah, so you can go through the comments yourself when you get a chance. But for the people who are trying to redeem Netanyahu in order to garner up more support for Israel, shame on you. Shame on you. Absolutely disgusting. It has come to this. It has come to this. Let's go to some of the comments in the chat, ladies and gents. Ay, ay, ay. Thank you for the super chat, Roger. Good news. Job going well. I'm a year behind in rent. And who I rent this car from? 13K behind this new job. I will break even come Thanksgiving. Congrats, Roger. That is really good news. Congratulations. Thank you, Sammy. Patrick Bet-David is a huge Zionist and pro-Iran war. So not surprising he is platforming a war criminal. Kuzba, Netanyahu is desperate for publicity. He went on trigonometry too. There you go. Thank you, Roger. No, we spend an extraordinary amount to defend you. And thank you for this one. He's attacking PBD, home country of Iran. Yeah, and PBD don't care. He don't give a damn. Anything to try to fit in. Thank you for the Rumble rant, JT. Patrick is what you call an Iranian Uncle Tom. I told you it's crazy, guys. I told you we got some rather interesting stories tonight, ladies and gents. If you haven't done so, folks, go ahead and smash that like button. Thank you. And we're heading on to the second story. Again, the theme tonight is It Has Come to This. So Patrick Bet-David had that interview with Benjamin Netanyahu and didn't push back, which is interesting considering this story right here. Israel bombed a hospital twice, killing journalists and civilians. Now they are trying to say that, oops, it was a mistake. Well, we've heard that before. Let's go ahead and get into it, folks. This is the story that a lot of people are calling out, including corporate media.
Back now with the latest in the escalating violence in the Middle East. This morning, an Israeli airstrike hit the main hospital in southern Gaza, killing at least 15 people, including several journalists, according to health officials. For more, let's bring in NBC News international correspondent Molly Hunter, who's in Jerusalem with the latest on this. So, Molly, let's start with the attack on that hospital, if we can. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Aaron, I'll walk you through what we know, and this is a fast-moving story, and I actually have an update already to the numbers that you just gave. We now know at least 20 people were killed in this pair of attacks, including 5 journalists. But it happened around 10 a.m., local time. The first Israeli drone strike hit the side of Nasser Hospital. Aaron, as you mentioned, it is the biggest, only functioning hospital in the south. But it hit a staircase. And this is important, Aaron, because this staircase was where journalists, since the early days of the war, have gathered to get Wi-Fi signals. So as journalists have also been displaced, as well as kind of average Palestinian citizens in Gaza, they have flocked to hospitals to use not only kind of the connection, the power, the water, the resources available there. So this staircase in particular, though, Aaron, is someplace that we've seen on social media of journalists waving their phones in the sky, kind of trying to get signal, huddled late night over their laptops, trying to get the images from Gaza out to the rest of the world. Well, minutes after the first Israeli drone strike, as first responders were racing up to that area, as other journalists were going to cover the event, another Israeli drone strike hit the exact same spot. Now, at least 20 people, as I mentioned, including 5 journalists. Aaron, I'm just going to share with you their names. It was Hossam Al-Masri, who worked with Reuters, Mariam Abu Daka, who worked for the AP, Mohammed Salama, who worked with Al Jazeera, Moaz Abu Taha, and Ahmed Abu Aziz. Just for some context for our audience, 245 journalists have died since October 7th. These are our peers, our colleagues, people who've been working tirelessly, Aaron, for the last 22 months to cover what's been happening in Gaza.
But here's the thing. We said this in 2024, and we said this towards the end of 2023 that they were killing the journalists. Now you're starting to hear corporate media cover it more. Like I said, now it's harder for them to ignore it. It appears they got the green light that it's okay to call these things out now. In the images that were shown, and we can't show the full thing because of YouTube, but in the images that were shown, you could see them standing on the stairs right before they were hit. It was a direct hit. Don't forget, Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel has the sharpest, brightest form of intelligence. They know what they are hitting. That was a direct target going after those journalists, and they've been doing it. And it's just interesting. Now, all of a sudden, they want to talk about it. But when we were calling it out, people were saying we were exaggerating. We didn't know what we were talking about. Now they have no choice. They have to cover it because everybody has acknowledged the famine, because the videos continue. Here we are 2 years later, and they're still killing journalists as well as children and women, etc.
And to make a record of history and shed some light on exactly what's happening on the ground there. We appreciate the sacrifice that they made. Molly, as it relates to these journalists, has the Israeli military responded at this point?
They have, a couple hours later, a very, very short statement, just a couple of lines. They have confirmed that there was an Israeli strike in the area of Nasser Hospital. They've also said that they have launched an immediate inquiry. You see that full statement up on your screen, and we will be pressing them for more answers.
We thank you for.
So let's get to what the IDF said about that strike on Nasser Hospital. Let me go ahead and show you here. I also thought it was interesting. Even Sky News, which is conservative and has been defending Israel, even Sky News covered it. See, this is what I was talking about. Now it's like, now it's okay. They all got the green light. It's okay to talk about it now.
Before we up sum that news conference, let me bring you some breaking news coming into us from the office of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And this relates to that double attack on Nasser Hospital in southern Gaza earlier on today. This is the statement from Netanyahu's office. It says, Israel deeply regrets the tragic mishap that occurred today at the Nasser Hospital in Gaza. Israel values the work of journalists, medical staff, and all civilians. The military authorities are conducting a thorough investigation. Our war is with Hamas terrorists. Our just goals are defeating Hamas and bringing our hostages home. So that statement coming into us about a few minutes ago from the office of the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
So this is not the first time that they have come forward and they have said we regret this, or it was a mistake, or that was an accident. We didn't mean to do it. Like I said, you have to look for it on social media because it has been circulating around on X, and you will see it for yourself. The video where the journalists are standing on the stairs, and it's right before they strike them. It was a direct hit. It is very clear who they were because they have on the vest, and it was a direct hit on those journalists. So again, when these things are called out by the media, Israel just does what they usually do when they just say, well, it was a mistake, or we're sorry for the loss of this, or our war is only with Hamas. If your war is only with Hamas, you wouldn't be killing kids. You wouldn't be starving these damn kids. You wouldn't have people throwing away the food and the aid. That is a blatant lie. These people are liars. And this is why I continue to say, and I will drive this all the way home, when I say, no, do not engage. Do not engage with them. You are helping them spread the propaganda when you do that. This is why I say no. So even Sky News had to report it. It has come to this. The people can't even protect Israel anymore because they're just so out in the open with it. And I want you to see the journalists here. Of course, they're saying Benjamin Netanyahu has said he regrets. Yeah, they don't regret a damn thing. Here's some of the journalists that were killed. Again, identifiable vests that say press. They stand out. It's very obvious. Here's another one. This is Miriam Daga. She was killed by Israel Today, was an incredibly talented photographer. She relentlessly and courageously documented the genocide. I'm going to share some of her images. We're not going to show the graphic one, of course. But another one, she was killed. And for people wondering, again, these are journalists that worked for Associated Press, Reuters, Al Jazeera. And it shouldn't even matter who they worked for, but what are these organizations going to do? What do they do? When you have a president that is sanctioning the ICC for even like trying to go after Israel, what are you going to do? Nobody ever held them accountable. Now, here's the interesting part. Even on Morning Joe, they had to talk about this. And I just think it's hilarious because them of all people, when this was happening under Biden's presidency, they were also running cover for Israel. We covered it on the show multiple times. They were also there to make sure that Israel was protected. And now they're trying to sing a different tune. Listen to this.
There's no need for this war to continue. There is no reason. There are no more political or military objectives to reach. There are no more intelligence objectives that we can reach. It's a law of diminishing returns. And yet this continues. Journalists continue to be shut out of this area, international journalists. So people that will defend Israel, no matter what Israel does, can say, oh, well, those are just, reports from Hamas, or those are just reports from, quote, health officials. No, they're not.
No, Joe, you did it too. See, we're not going to sit back here and pretend as though their hands are clean. Because I have a really good memory, and I think a lot of you guys do too. Let's remember, Joe and Mika sat right there at those desks in 2024 and even towards the end of 2023, and they were defending what Israel was doing. They were also one of the shows that criticized the pro-Palestinian protesters. They brought on Eric Adams to congratulate him for sending the police after the pro-Palestine protesters. They called the pro-Palestinian protesters names. And I guess now all of a sudden that this is happening under the Trump administration, now they got the green light that they can switch their gears. And now it's like, okay, we can call Israel out. Plus, don't forget that MSNBC was just dropped by Comcast. And now they're supposed to be becoming MS Now. So they're already heading in that direction. So I think this was their way of showing, look, we might be becoming independent. We're going that way. They're not really going to be independent, but that's what they're saying. So no, we don't forget. We don't forget, you guys sat up there and defended Israel too. You guys sat up there and you ran cover for them time and time again when the rest of us in independent media were calling out the BS and telling people the truth about what Israel was doing. So you don't get to sit there, Joe and Mika, and just wash your hands. You are a part of it. They are guilty as well because they continue to spread that same propaganda. You were doing the master's work. That's exactly what you were doing. They kill me with this.
There are reports from the International Red Cross, from the United Nations, from other organizations, Doctors Without Borders, other organizations that have been allowed in there. And yet here you have people that were working on the ground because the IDF and Israel, Netanyahu's government, are barring the press from going into Gaza. And this happens.
Joe, in addition to the enormous human tragedy that we're talking about right now and that occurred just a couple of days ago, this is a tragedy for Israel as a whole.
Yes, it is.
A global tragedy for Israel. Israel needs friends. It has always needed friends. But under Bibi Netanyahu and the conduct of the IDF in waging this war against Hamas, Israel is winning no friends. It's losing friends rapidly. And the idea that the IDF is continuing to wage war against Hamas under the goal of, as Bibi Netanyahu has pointed out, eliminating Hamas. You're never going to eliminate Hamas. It's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because of the constant warfare against Hamas in Gaza. You've earned another generation's contempt of Palestinians toward Israel.
Beyond.
Pause. The reason why you're never going to get rid of Hamas is because of the occupation and the brutality that Israel has committed towards the Palestinian people. That's why. Hamas didn't start after October 7th. And don't forget that Benjamin Netanyahu funded Hamas. You know, people forget this sometimes. So there's no turning back from this. That's why Israel's response, they're like, oh, we just got to get rid of, let's just get rid of all of them. But even then, you don't remove the ideology. The world has seen you for who you are and what you are. The world knows what Israel is. There's no coming back. You know, it's kind of hard to forget a genocide. So there's no coming back from that for Israel. Now they feel that their only way of doing this, and this is why Benjamin Netanyahu is going on those podcast tours, is by going on to different shows and saying, well, look, we're nice people. We only just want Hamas out. We're not trying to hurt anybody else. It's too late for that. It's too late. And I believe, and I'm going to keep it real. Let's talk about this for a second. I believe some of these people are being paid to do it. I believe that some of these podcasts that are bringing Benjamin Netanyahu on, trying to run cover for Israel, I believe some of them are being paid. That's just how I see it.
Beyond contempt. And you talk about losing an entire generation, Jonathan, a generation of American support is being lost. This is not, that people can't say, oh, this anti-Semitism, oh, this because people hate it. No, America has been Israel's steadfast ally. You look at the data, the strong data, and look and see what's happened. And those numbers are changing dramatically every day. Older people like us, I'll just speak for myself, born Israel supporters will remain Israel supporters. But again, deeply critical Israel supporters, because I know, and so many other of my friends know, all of this is bad for Israel's long-term health. It's bad for their standing in the region, for their standing in the world, and most importantly for Israel, for their standing with their most important ally, the United States of America.
Why will you remain an Israel supporter? That's what Joe Scarborough just said there. After everything that Israel has done, the genocide and everything, why will you remain a supporter of a state that is committing genocide? Why would you still remain supportive of that? Why? Somebody needs to explain this. He said he was born an Israel supporter and he will remain an Israel supporter, but he'll be critical of them. Why would you continue to support someone who's committing genocide? And no, it's not just about October 7th. It's the whole ideology. We talked about this at Icarus Fest. This goes way back. Why would you continue to support them? See, this, this is something here, and it's corporate media, but not just corporate media, because you're seeing it in some forms of independent media as well. Like I told you, I believe some of these people are paid, but the reality is he is going to remain supportive of Israel so that he can keep that damn job, even though he knows that they are wrong. Joe and Mika are very wealthy. These are rich people. They have a penthouse apartment in New York City, in a city where a lot of people can barely afford to live in a studio apartment. But they're in those circles, you know, they're in those social circles, and they rub elbows with all the important folks, and that's where they want to remain. So you sound like a complete clown and a fool. And for someone to sit there and say that, it's just like I don't know. Like, would you say that about Hitler? Would someone sit there and say, yeah, you know, what he's doing is really bad and he's killing all those people and stuff, but I'm still going to be a supporter? Hell no. They are trying their best to save Israel's reputation because they know that it is dead. It is gone. This is what they have been told to do. Save and support Israel. Because like I told you, in my opinion, I believe that Israel is a U.S. military base in the Middle East to make sure that the U.S. still has access to the oil, the resources in that region, and that the other Arab countries don't develop their own system. And we see what happens to the countries that have tried to do this, right? Like Gaddafi tried to do this in Libya and said, hey, maybe we should all the African countries, some of us should just partner together and not rely on the support of the West. What happens? The U.S. says that Gaddafi is killing his own people and we got to take him out. I just keep thinking about how peaceful the Middle East would be without Israel. Like, imagine trying to make people feel sorry for them when they're the ones who are killing all these people. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's right. It was obviously a flashpoint during the 2024 election, but polls since then have shown Americans, both parties, growing less and less, willing to ally themselves with what Israel is doing and support for Israel. And as a final note, Mariam Daga, we mentioned the AP journalist who was killed, her byline just a couple of days ago about the malnourished children being taken to that very hospital. So those are the stories that we wouldn't know otherwise. It's because of work of people like her who were killed yesterday. It's terrible.
Yeah, but you guys said none of this in 2024 when they were killing all those journalists then. You said nothing. In fact, you guys hid a lot of these stories. And now they have the green light to go ahead and cover it. We cannot forget about that, guys. And I'll say this. You know, it has really come to this. How many times can Israel bomb a hospital? How many times can Israel kill, journalists? And nobody holds them accountable. It's just absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And one thing I can say that we got to continue to do is, number one, and everybody hear me on this one, you cannot support any politician that is taking money from the Israeli lobby. None. Nada. Poof. Be gone. None. I don't care if it's AIPAC or if it's J Street. Because J Street doesn't want to call it a genocide either. They're just a nicer version of AIPAC, but they don't call it a genocide either. So that's the one thing. Those politicians have got to go. Like, people, we need the AIPAC people out, the Kufi people out, the J Street people out. That's what it's come to, because I don't know what else. This whole thing that's happening, the way that they can just target, and again, I can't show the video on here, but if you look on social media, you can find it very quickly. The way they directly targeted those journalists that were standing on those stairs, that was a direct hit. And they're going around telling people, oh, sorry, it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. And you know what? Our government knows it wasn't a mistake. And Joe and Mika and corporate media, everybody knows it wasn't a mistake. Everybody knows it was a direct hit if you look at the actual video. So they're just running cover for Israel to save their own ass. And it's disgusting. Ay, ay, ay. Alrighty. Let's go to some of the comments here, and we're going to switch gears, folks. We started off with some foreign policy. We're going to switch to something else. Thank you for the super chat, unemployed scholar. Hitler/KKK have a wife too. Doesn't humanize them. Ode to John says, because it was caught live on stream. There you go. Thank you, Arcane. Sabby, one of those dead journalists worked for NBC. I mean, it's Malty says PBD got 1 million. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Anything for money. Monica said, I am grateful for your outrage, Sabby. There is far too little of it. Yeah. And Dog Boy says mistakes don't have double taps. No, they don't. No, they do not. We are moving on to our next story, ladies and gents. We are pivoting to domestic policy. So, you know, Donald Trump has fooled a lot of people. We have two measures here that he is implementing that really do go against some of the things that he ran on. And people are calling it out for it. I'm actually going to tell you, I was kind of surprised. Some of Trump's supporters are calling him out for this. One of them being a corporate media pundit, which we'll show you as well. Here's the first thing. As much as Donald Trump said that he is going to be America first, we're going to look out for Americans, he just announced that he is going to allow 600,000 students from China to come to university here in the United States. The same guy who tells you that China is so bad and so evil and oh my God, look out for China, just announced he is going to allow 600,000 students from China to come to the universities here in the United States. Now, I worked in university for over 10 years. I'm going to tell you what this is really about. Because part of this has to do with a trade agreement that Donald Trump is trying to make with China. And this seems to be, you know, what the offer is on the table or what he's offering them on the table. And he's actually trying to convince people that this is America first. It's not. Let's go ahead and get into this announcement from him. And look at this. Here we go. This is a Trump supporter, chief Trumpster. So we didn't get mass deportations, but instead are getting mass importation of labor, students, and workers to take our jobs. Does importing 600,000 Chinese students to take spots of Americans in schools sound America first to you? Here it is.
President Xi would like me to come to China. It's a very important relationship. As you know, we're taking a lot of money in from China because of the tariffs and the different things. And it's a very important relationship. We're going to get along good with China. I hear so many stories about we're not going to allow their students. We're going to allow their students to come in. We're going to allow, it's very important, 600,000 students. It's very important. But we're going to get along with China. But it's a different relationship that we have now with China. It's a much better relationship economically than it was before. With Biden, boy, what he allowed that, I mean, they just took him to the cleaners. You know, President Xi.
So I have been saying over and over again, and I mark my words on this one, that there have been no mass deportations under Donald Trump's presidency. No mass deportations. There have been controversial ones, yes, but no mass deportations. The numbers don't show that. You can Google the numbers for yourself. I called this out when he allowed the Afrikaners to come to the U.S. and expedited their visa process to get them here. And now you see he's allowing China to send students here to the United States, right? Now, students from China have already been attending schools here in the U.S. This is not new, but it goes against everything that he ran on. This whole idea of being America first, Well, if 600,000 students from China come to university here in the United States, that's not America first, because that takes spots from the domestic students that want to attend those schools. And I'm going to tell you what this is really about. I was an academic advisor. I worked in higher ed for 10 years. Actually, about 11 if you count that 1 year. I was working from home. Roughly about 11 years. Okay. The international students that attend university in the US, they pay because they don't qualify for financial aid. That's not how it works, right? Like, they're not eligible for that. But in order for them to attend some of these universities, they have to prove that their parents can pay tuition for 4 years. They have to prove that up front. Some of these universities have gotten to the point that they rely so heavily on the international students because it's a business. These colleges have turned into businesses. So that's where a lot of the enrollment and recruitment has been coming from over the past couple of years. I gave a strong warning about this when I was still working at Boston University, and I encouraged and urged them to try to recruit more domestic students. Of course, who am I? I'm nobody, right? Like, I'm not a tenure faculty member. So of course they didn't want to listen to me. Then the pandemic happened, that little thing. And then all of a sudden, some of these programs, like the mathematics finance program, business analytics program, some of these programs that heavily relied on recruiting students from China and from Korea because of the math scores, all of a sudden we're in a rough spot. Because now some of those students were like, well, I'm not going to pay all that money to attend a school I can't even physically go to right now because of the lockdowns. But this wouldn't have happened if they would have never decided, let's just deprioritize the domestic students and let's just focus on the international students where we can get the money from. And that's what a lot of these universities have been doing. That's Boston University. That's MIT. That's Harvard. That's a lot of them. So they rely on that money. Donald Trump is doing this not because he cares about students in China. Don't get it twisted. He doesn't. He's doing it because he is trying to do this trade agreement with China. And that's the offer that he puts on the table. But that's not what he ran on. Because ideally, the students that attend those colleges and enter in those STEM programs, that's primarily where a lot of people are going, into those STEM programs, they go on to get great jobs with these companies. And then another thing that they get upset about, the career coaches get upset about, they're like, well, they all come here and they go to school here, but then they go back home. They're not obligated to stay here. When people come to attend school in the US, they're not obligated to sign their life away to a job here in the United States. Not everybody wants to stay here. Some people just want to come here to go to school and then they want to go back home where, I don't know, housing is more affordable, or housing is guaranteed, or healthcare is guaranteed. So those skills and those degrees are going elsewhere a lot of the times. Now, not all of them, but a lot of times that happens. I ran into this my last year in academic advising, and I asked, like, you don't want to stay here? And you know what a lot of the kids would tell me, those that were from China? They're like, well, no. I came to the US, I got a degree here. I'm pretty much guaranteed a job back home in China. Why would I stay here and go through the rat race of looking for a job and then trying to secure a work visa when I'm pretty much guaranteed a job back home? That's the value of a US degree. And that's the reality. The point is, Trump lied. And you can see that. And I've said this before. You guys, we really got to get more like the STEM programs. The STEM programs need to be increased at K through 12. And there's no comparison. I went through a number of applications, and I'm here to tell you, these SAT scores, these GMAT scores, these GRE scores, when you look at those scores from the domestic students and you compare it to the scores of the students that are coming from countries like China and Korea and Germany, something's missing. So that's more that we have to do here in the public education system. But the reality is, This goes against what Trump was saying. In fact, there was a commentator that called him out about it on Fox News. I think you might remember her.
It's very important.
Mr. Secretary, with all due respect, how is allowing 600,000 students from the communist country of China putting America first?
Well, the president's point of view is that what would happen if you didn't have those 600,000 students is that you'd empty them from the top. All the students would go up to better schools, and the bottom 15% of universities and colleges would go out of business in America. So his view is he's taking a rational economic view, which is classic Donald Trump, looking at higher education and saying,
but why are you
until we
Harvard?
modify that.
Hold on. I want you guys to really pay attention to what this guy just said. Listen to what he openly admits here.
With all due respect, how is allowing 600,000 students from the communist country of China putting America first?
Of course, she had to say communist. She had to add that in there, right? By the way, for the record, there is no true communist country in the world.
Well, the president's point of view is that what would happen if you didn't have those 600,000 students is that you'd empty them from the top. All the students would go up to better schools, and the bottom 15% of universities and colleges would go out of business in America. So his view is he's taking a...
Do you guys realize what he's saying? He's basically telling you that if Donald Trump did not take this approach, then basically the domestic students would end up getting those enrollment spots at those universities. That's really what he's saying. Like, I can't make this up. And again, and it's one of those things I said before, for me, whatever. I've advised students, domestic students, international students, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, this is Trump going back on what he said he was going to do. And that's why you see so many of them, even her, Laura Ingraham. This is why she's pushing back, because she's like, wait a minute. So you see, people say one thing when they're running, and once they're in, they do what benefits corporate interests. And that's really what this is about. This is about what benefits corporations, what benefits corporate interests, not what benefits the working class.
A rational economic view, which is classic Donald Trump, looking at higher education and saying,
but why are you
until
helping
we
Harvard?
Modify that.
That just
What's
helps
that?
Harvard and UCLA and UCal Berkeley and I mean you're all helping those schools. Why? They're like basically factories of anti-American propaganda. And now they're getting a big influx of cash because of the Chinese students. I know President Trump has always been very pro-Chinese student. I just don't understand it for the life of me. Those are 600,000 spots that American kids won't get.
And let me say something else here. This just goes to show you that the grief, the spat that Trump had with Harvard was just personal, which is what I was saying all along. When he tried to change the restrictions so that Harvard wouldn't be able to enroll students or enroll a certain number of students for the student visa process, that was personal. That was not about, I don't want international students here. That's not what that was about. That was a personal attack against Harvard. And a lot of that has to do with some of the people who donated to Harvard also donated to Donald Trump's campaign, like Bill Ackman, for example. So that was Donald Trump doing the work of people like Bill Ackman. So you guys see, this is all full of shit. Okay, thank you.
I'll tell you what I'm involved in. I'm involved in changing the H-1B program, right? We're going to change that program. Because that's terrible, right? We're going to change the green card. You know, we give green cards. The average American makes $75,000 a year, and the average green card recipient, $66,000. So we're taking the bottom quartile. Right. Like, why are we doing that? That's why Donald Trump is going to change it. That's the gold card that's coming. And that's we're going to start picking the best people to come into this country. It's time for that to change.
I think
you see this?
Our American engineering students need to be given the first role at every job, and I think they're brilliant when given half a chance. But Mr. Secretary, I know you're juggling a lot of balls over there. We really appreciate your explaining a lot of this to us. Thank you.
Juggling a lot of balls. So here's the thing, right? So you guys see it. So it was a lie. So he lied to you. And that's okay to admit. Trump played a lot of people. He also playing them with this. On top of that, now Trump wants to criminalize burning the American flag, which is protected under the First Amendment. And here's the thing about the First Amendment. You don't necessarily have to like what the person is doing, but that doesn't mean it's not protected. And that's exactly what happened in here. So now you got Donald Trump making an executive order where he is saying that it's criminal to burn the American flag. Listen to it. Check it out. And this is Clint Russell. Clint Russell said, I've never wanted to burn an American flag, but I might do it today now that Trump violated the First Amendment by making it illegal. Check this out.
Lastly, sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. All over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You could do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure.
So here's something that's really interesting, and I'm seeing people get into spats online about this particular thing here. If you consider yourself to be free speech, free press, free expression, you should 100% oppose this. I don't give a damn if it's Trump doing it, if it's Biden doing it. It doesn't matter to me if it's a certain party that's doing it. You should be against it. Because one minute it's the flag, the next minute it's something else. This is protected by the First Amendment. And to me, I see this as though this is a way for Donald Trump again send another signal to Israel. What's next? They're going to criminalize you burning the Israeli flag? Some people say that's too far. I don't think so. Not this day and age. Right? So what is coming down the pipeline next? I think this would feed the prison industrial complex for sure. Private prisons would love this. Yes, let's lock up more people. So to me, it's just kind of like, then some people are like, well, why would they want to burn the American flag? That's not the point. That's not the point. There are a number of demonstrations that have happened in this country that I may agree or disagree with, but I always agree that they had the right to do it under the First Amendment. And I think what some people are starting to do is they're looking at things that they disagree with and saying, no, it shouldn't be allowed because I disagree with it. But there's always going to be someone who disagrees. That's the problem. So yeah, that's a violation of free speech. Then hear what he wants the punishment to be. Listen to this.
What the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. No early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, you get, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they?
Yeah, incitement.
Incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record.
Feeding the private prison industrial complex. This is absolutely ridiculous. And here they are considering, think about this for a second. They're actually considering pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, but they want to send you to prison for 1 year if you burn the American flag. While this woman helped traffic and, according to some of the victims, participated in the activity of assaulting these girls, underage girls. But they're actually considering pardoning her, but they want you to go to jail for burning the American flag. You see how power protects power? That's where we're at now. We have a veteran that was already arrested. I'll show you that in just a second.
And you will see flag burning stopping immediately, just like when I signed the Statute and Monument Act. 10 years in jail if you hurt any of our beautiful monuments. Everybody left town. They were gone. Never had a problem after that. It's pretty amazing. We stopped it. But this is something that's, I don't know, in a certain way, it's equally as important. Some people would say it's more important because the people in this country don't want to see our American flag burned and spit on. And by people that are, in many cases, paid agitators. They're paid by the radical left to do it. You talk to these people, they don't even know, half of them don't even know what they're doing. They say, I don't know, they gave me money to do this. I see the same things that you do. They're bad people. They're trying to destroy our nation. That's not working because I think our nation now is the most respected nation anywhere in the world by far. You saw that with the European leaders on Friday. You saw that with NATO, where they agreed to go from 2% no pay to 5% fully paid up, trillions of dollars paid, where they respect your president to a level that they jokingly call me the president of Europe. They call me the president of Europe, which is an honor. I like Europe and I like those people. They're good people. They're great leaders. And we've never had a case where 7 plus really 28, essentially 38 countries were represented here the other day. 38 European countries were represented. European and other countries were represented. And it was a great meeting. But your country is respected again. I say it all the time. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Everybody said it. We had a dead country. We were not going to survive. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. So it's an honor to be involved. And this group has a lot to do with it right behind me.
This is absolutely pathetic. Like, it's just, again, I don't agree with some of the things that happen, some of the demonstrations that happen. I don't agree with. There's a number of things that I'm like, oh, that's, I don't agree with that. But I never get up here and say they should not be allowed to do it. And that's essentially what Donald Trump is doing right here with the flag burning. And again, I even saw, like, I don't know if I put it here. I probably didn't. But yes, I did. Robbie. So even Robbie, look at this. The Supreme Court has ruled on this. It protected freedom of expression. The First Amendment exists, obviously unconstitutional. That's Robbie Suave from Rising. I don't think I got the one from Sagar, but Sagar said something against it as well. Like, that's what I'm saying. Even people who are conservative, I guess Robbie's libertarian / conservative. I don't know. I can keep up these days. But even some of the people who are conservative are speaking out against this because, and here's the thing, it sets a precedent. It sets a precedent because the next president that comes in, like let's say a Democrat comes in 2028, then maybe they could make an executive order to ban some form of free speech that, they may feel is wrong, or freedom of expression that they may feel is wrong. This is what I'm saying. It sets a precedent. Now, there was a veteran here who apparently was arrested for burning the American flag. So listen to this. Check out this guy.
However you feel that you may want to express yourself. There's a First Amendment right to burn the American flag. The Archdiocese in that house right there signed an executive order today saying that it was illegal to burn the American flag. No president can make a law, period. No Congress will make a law infringing on First Amendment rights. I'm burning this flag as a protest to that illegal fascist president that sits in that house. Do this for every single one of you American citizens. We burn this flag in protest to that president who feels that it's his right to do whatever he wants, make whatever law he wants. That President Trump put forward today. According to that executive order, I should be in prison right now serving 1 year.
A veteran. So So he says he's a veteran. There's another part here I wanted to show you. Here's him here as well.
Yep, I'm being detained because I expressed my First Amendment right to burn the United States flag in public, not causing harm or causing any danger to any citizens or personnel in the area. Do this for every single one of you American citizens. We burn this flag in protest to that president who feels that it's his right to do whatever he wants, make whatever law he wants, regardless if it's legal or illegal.
Yeah, and we saw that part. So you see what's happening, right? Right. So we have to ask this question: when does an executive order become law? Now, here's the tricky part. The part there where Donald Trump said that you would be imprisoned for 1 year. If you read the executive order, it doesn't say that, but it's kind of vague, as though it's kind of left up to the commander in chief. It's kind of left up to who's in charge. So I guess that's what he would do to you. Now, I would sincerely hope they would not put this guy in prison for 1 year, but this shouldn't happen at all. This shouldn't happen, period. That's the problem. And then there's another thing, and we really gotta say something about this, folks. What is going on with Donald Trump? Because he don't look too good. And I saw this, and I don't know if everybody saw it. And this says Buffy, and this is like the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Stan account or something. Y'all, it's happening. What the hell is that on Donald Trump's hand? What is that? It's purple? Purplish? Zoom in. What is that? That does not look good. Does not look good. Potato Head said demonic possession. Brian said blood clots. Danny said deep vein thrombosis. Yeah, that don't look good. Because you know what it reminds me of? Remember when Mitch McConnell had the purple fingers? And, he wasn't doing too well and he like fainted or whatever. It just does not look good. Something is not going on. Something is off here with Donald Trump. I don't think his health is A-okay. So we saw, Biden had his issues, cognitive decline, and I don't know what this is. Some people would think it's a bruise or whatever. I don't know. But it looks like, if I zoom in on it, it almost looks like someone tried to cover it up with makeup. Don't know. I think that Trump is out of his mind. I think we're in, oh my God, it's 2025. And I just feel like we have been living in a nightmare for years. And I don't know what is going on there, but it doesn't look like Trump may be in the best health either. So there's a lot going on. So you have the flag burning, which again, like I said, I support the First Amendment 100%. So I'm very much against that. And number two, you have him lying once again about the international students, etc. And it just goes to show you that what he did to Harvard was personal more than anything. This is why I say do not make politicians a hero. And this is why I tried to warn people that Donald Trump he was running on a populist message because he knows that's what helps him get elected. He ran on a populist message in 2016, he won. He ran on a populist message again, 2024, and he won. And if it had not been, I really believe if it had not been for the pandemic, I think he would have won re-election in 2020. But just because they run on these things doesn't mean they're actually going to do it. So now they really want to criminalize people for burning the American flag. It has come to this. Let's go to the comments in the chat. Corey, Eric, we can go to part. Oh, no, we can't. We got one more. Oh, yeah, we got the Kim one. Okay. Let's go to some of the comments here. Thank you, Wiss. Hi, Sab. Thank you for hosting in the Greater Israel panel. Thank you. You are welcome. JB says that Trump just got owned by Xi Jinping, LMFAO. Yeah. Zenful, no comparison, far behind. Thank you, Vilma, who's been a member for 14 months. JFK was an American first president. He was a man of peace. Listen to his peace speech, was so profound. The USA needs a JFK for all of us. And Justice says Uhuru 5 set a precedent. That's right. What happened to, Chairman Amali Yeshitela, when they were coming after them, we tried to warn you guys about the speech and the First Amendment. Let's get that comment there on, I think that's Rumble. Thank you. Thank you for the tip on Rumble, Mark. Sabby, the DD boys said that Trump didn't understand the wording of the law. It says they investigate to see if any laws were broken, meaning burning the flag itself is not one of them. Yeah, I read the executive order. I totally get that. But like I said, if he wants to do that, he can try to find a way to do it. So it seemed like if you read the executive order, you guys, it appears kind of vague as to whether or not that would happen to someone. But knowing Trump, who knows? It's a hot mess. All right, ladies and gents, thank you so much. Smash the like if you have not done so. If you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share. Just like a Care Bear, ladies and gents. We are getting into this story by Kim Iversen, and this is a warning for everyone. What happened to Kim Iversen can happen to any one of us. So I wanted to talk about this because I do feel like it's not something that is discussed often. And I think it may happen more often than people realize. Kim Iversen had her identity stolen. And Kim is a YouTube commentator, actually also on Rumble as well, political commentator. She's been doing this for quite some time. But someone stole her identity, and wait till you hear what they bought with it. Check this out.
Was a victim of identity theft, and someone stole a car using my information. This is what happened to me on Friday when I was on the air doing this show. I started receiving alerts from my credit card company, actually, from Capital One, that my credit was being run. Basically, I was getting these alerts that there had been some credit inquiries on my credit reports. And I saw that there were 4 notifications of this. So when the show was over, I went and logged into my Capital One account to find out what was going on. They rerouted me to the credit aspect of it and showed that there were these 4 inquiries on my credit report. Inquiries that I absolutely was not the one making. So I thought, oh no, somebody is actually, they clearly have access to my information. Otherwise, these would not show up on my credit report. So 4 different ones. I recognized one of them. I thought, well, this one, I know that they do, I think. I was mistaken. I actually thought one of them was a credit card company. And so I thought, okay, somebody's trying to open up a credit card under my name. But I ended up turning to ChatGPT, believe it or not, and went and you know how a lot of times on your credit report or when you go to your bank statements, a lot of times it's kind of abbreviated. You don't really see the full, whoever you bought the thing from or whoever was running the credit. It's kind of an abbreviation. And so they weren't exactly easy to read, these 4 different inquiries. So I copied and pasted them and put them into ChatGPT. And I said to Chat, hey, somebody is trying to open up some sort of line of credit under my name. Can you identify what they're trying to buy? I mean, is this a credit card? Is this a personal loan? Like, what type of credit are they trying to get under my name? And ChatGPT looks at this and says, well, they're trying to buy a car. And here's my reasoning for thinking they're trying to buy a car, because this is a lender for one, this is a lender that does many different types of loans, but they also specialize in car loans. Here's another one. Most of the lenders do very different types of loans, but mostly car loans. And the reason why Chat knew that it was for sure a car loan was because one of the lenders was an abbreviated form for an actual car dealership. And so Chat says that's the actual car dealership, and they might even be there now trying to buy the car. So you should call that car dealership, is what ChatGPT told me. So yeah.
So I don't really use ChatGPT. I think I tried to use it one time when I was looking for a movie to watch or something like that. But it seems like it did help Kim out in this particular situation. Now, I do want to explain to everybody, it can happen to any one of you. It happened to Kim. She's pretty well known in political commentary space. She has a large following, but it can happen to anyone. You don't have to be someone that is, on YouTube or anything like that. And what was scary to me is that they bought a car. It's not like they stole her identity and bought like clothing items or something like that. Either way, that's still wrong. But they bought a car, like an actual car. That is a big dollar investment, and it does go on your credit report. This is insane. Like, people have become very bold nowadays. Crazy stuff.
Yes, I mean, I used chat on this. It ended up working out really well. There's a lot of things I don't use chat for, but when it comes to things like this, you know, the computer, the AI is smart enough to detect what exactly are these abbreviations, you know, that my human brain is not aware of. And luckily, chat identified this as a car dealership and somebody trying to buy a car. So I contacted that car dealership. They actually told me that it was a car dealership in Arlington, Texas. When I'm living right now, I'm in Boise, Idaho at the moment, and that somebody had attempted to buy a car there, or maybe even successfully did. So I call them up and I get on the phone with them and I say, look, this is who I am. And somebody has apparently been trying to buy a car there, and they might even be there. Well, at first they were like, okay, you know, I got the receptionist, and they're like, well, let me get you to the right person. And of course I get through to voicemail. And so I call back and they, well, okay, let me get you to a different person. And of course I end up in voicemail again. So I call back a third time and I say, listen, the credit is being run right now. I'm getting these alerts, and this person might be there right now trying to buy a car right now. And the person says to me, well, actually, I did ask, and I found out that this was yesterday. And I said, did they get the car? And the person said, yeah, they did. They got the car. So
that's crazy. That's absolutely insane that they were able to use her identity in another state. She's not even in Texas, in another state, and drive off with the car. And what? That's how quickly it can happen.
Finally, this person is able to page the general manager, get the general manager on the phone. And the general manager says to me, yeah, you know, I can't really give you a ton of information. We'll work with the police. But yes, this person was in. They had the right identification. They had identification. So they were using my name. They used my social security. They used my birthday. That is the information they had. They didn't have the right address. And they actually didn't really have the right name. The name wasn't quite right, but it's still, but it worked well enough for them when they ran the credit that apparently the lenders were not triggered that this was fraud. The name was
because they had the social security number. So even though they didn't have the name completely right, they had her social security number.
Just slightly wrong. But nonetheless, they were able to drive off with the car. Now, I do not know how much this car is valued at, but I would imagine that, you know, maybe it was anywhere from $20,000 to $50,000 of a car that they were able to run off with under my name, under my social, under my birthday. Now, what does that mean for me? Well, that means that I'm potentially on the hook for this car that is, you know, obviously this person's not going to make those payments. They just stole a car, and they stole a car using my name and my identity. And so, and they had a different, you know, they had an ID with their photograph on it and all of my information except for my address. And they bought a car with this. So I'm now, according to the lender, I would be the one that's held responsible. Where this is ruinous is I would be the one that has to pay back this loan unless I could prove that I am not the person who bought this car. So immediately the right step to do is, first, I called the dealership and I said, this wasn't me. I'm all the way in the state of Idaho. Which is a good alibi. You have to actually come up with an alibi. So when somebody steals your identity, you have to treat it like it's not just you're a victim and woe is me. You have to prove you're not the perpetrator. That's the thing that sucks in identity theft.
You're not treated like the victim. And it's true. There was a movie about this. It was a true story about a woman who was a teacher, and it happened to her. And she was just given the runaround, and she had to basically like prove that she was the victim, even though she was the victim. Meanwhile, this person was just running around like ripping through her credit, and there was nothing that, like, the authorities, which is basically like, you have to prove to us that you are who you are. And it's really wild, but that's how it works. Now, there are some things that you can do, which I want to tell you in just a second, but I want you to hear about how she was able to get this fixed.
And you have to remember this. You have to come up with your alibi as quickly as possible and document it. If you were somewhere at that time that you think this theft happened, you need to get the video surveillance. You've got to do everything you can to prove it wasn't you, because they will stick this on you. The lender will act like you're the one who you bought a car. Who knows what you did with the car? You're just trying to get out of paying for it. You're coming up with some scam saying that you were the victim of identity theft, and really you're just the loser that won't pay for your car. So in the event of identity theft, just remember, you have to come up with an alibi. And sometimes it's not that easy. Luckily, in my circumstance, the person physically went into the dealership and physically bought a car and physically drove off with the car. It would be a lot harder if this were an online credit card that they opened up and charged it up. Especially if it was in the area where you actually reside. That would be very, very difficult to prove that it wasn't you. You'd have to go and gather surveillance. I mean, you have to go and do all this legwork. So just keep that in mind if this happens to you, not to just set it and, well, it wasn't me, so I don't know, they'll figure it out. No. You got to go build your alibi. So I had to go to the police here in Idaho. Luckily for me, I happened to be also at the day that this happened. It actually happened on Thursday. I got the alerts on Friday. And they said, well, it happened yesterday, and they drove off with the car. Earlier that day, while they were, actually Thursday, we actually ran a pre-recorded show because we needed the day off to do business stuff. My producers needed to go to, do government stuff, and I also needed to go do government stuff on Thursday. So it worked out for me. It's the only time in my life I can say I am so glad I was sitting all day at the DMV. But I was sitting all day at the DMV and with all of my documentation in order to change my driver's license to a real ID, which means I had my passport, my birth certificate, my social security card, my marriage certificate. I had all of these things to prove that I was me in order to get a real ID. Plus, they took a photograph of me. Plus, they have surveillance all over the DMV. So I lucked out that my alibi is airtight. Thank goodness, because this wasn't a small purchase. A lot of people, when I told them I was a victim of identity theft, they said, well, I had somebody steal $800 from me, or somebody else said, oh, somebody else opened up a credit card and took $1,000 or however much money. This is, tens of thousands of dollars for a car.
So let me tell you how you might be able to prevent this from happening to you. Some of the steps that you can take, because it's scary, when something like this does happen. Number one, if you are using a bank, one of the things that you can do, depending on your bank, but I think most banks have this now, one of the things that you can do is you can put a spending limit on your account. This is very crucial. It may sometimes seem like a pain, but it's worth it in the long run. What does that mean? What does that look like? If you have a spending limit on your account, this could mean that, let's say your limit is $1,000. That means that anytime you try to make a purchase for an item that is $1,000 or greater, you have to call it in. The bank will automatically decline the charge because that is your spending limit. So I'll give you an example of what that looks like, right? So if your spending limit is $1,000, and let's say you are trying to rent a new apartment or something like that, let's say you have to put down a security deposit of $1,000, and you say, okay, well, I got to put down $1,000. You would have to call the bank and say, hello, I am about to make a purchase for $1,000 to said company, and I'm here at the company, right? I'm about to do it right now. Can you put it through? Otherwise, your bank will block it. The moment that they try to charge that account, that $1,000, it's going to reject it because the bank is going to say, whoa, this is past the spending limit. So we need approval from you in order to make this go through. That's one of the things that you can do. I have that. I know other people that have that. So that's a good one to have, because I'm telling you, people get hit. Let me tell you another way that people get hit. A lot of people like to use these online apps, these food delivery service apps, Grubhub, DoorDash, Uber Eats. Do not save your debit card or your credit card in those app sites. I know it's easier that way because you can just select food and your payment information is already there. But there are people like hackers and etc. They know how to get that information from those websites. You got to be very careful with DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, how a lot of the payment sites, the apps that people frequent. Grubhub's a big one. And I know people that have been hit by Grubhub. So don't save your payment information in those delivery service apps. That's a big one. Yeah, it sucks because when you go to use it, you're going to have to enter it, whatever. Use PayPal or something. Do not leave your card attached to those sites. That's another thing that you can do. And this is not saying that Kim did that. I'm just giving you guys some tips. Another thing that you can do, which Kim does mention later in this video, is a credit lock, right? So putting a lock on your credit reports, meaning that it can't hit your credit without your approval. Because a purchase, obviously, if someone purchases a car, that is going to go on your credit. Like there's, no getting around that really. But that's something, we'll get into the credit lock thing in just a second. But one of the first things is that spending limit. And some of you have this option as well at your bank, that if there is unusual activity, where your bank will alert you, they'll either send you a text message or an email that says, did you make these purchases? So if it's something that is unusual activity for you, like for example, if you don't normally go to the Nike store and buy a pair of Nike sneakers every day, and all of a sudden this hits your account, bam, 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 your bank may say, whoa, this is unusual activity. If you live in Massachusetts and you don't usually go to New York and, charge your card for all these different hotel rooms, your bank account may flag that as unusual activity and try not to let that go through. But you have to talk to your bank about these things. James Brown said a long time ago, or at least Eddie Murphy said, that James Brown told him to bury your money in the ground. And I just think about, as more as we get into electronic payments, you just got to be careful. Just don't save that information there, Now, she did go on to talk about the credit. Let's get into that a little bit.
Actually forgetting, people I'm sure switch out of that job a lot, revolving door, and somebody else gets in there and maybe the file's not, or maybe they sell the debt to some collection and the collector's like, nah, we'll still nab him. We'll get her, we'll get that Kim lady. And they could come after me and I have to prove once again for however many years, I don't know. It could be a nightmare, that kind of a saga that goes on forever where I have to continue to prove. I had an alibi. I wasn't in Texas. I was sitting at the Idaho DMV, hear all the police reports. This is a government report. The investigation's been done. It wasn't me. Stop coming after me. Do not ruin my credit. They could still do, which is a 7-year freeze, which requires a much deeper level of scrutiny from people that are giving you credit. They have to do more double checks and triple checks and whatnot. And that you have to actually file physically. You have to send in proof of your identity to one of the 3 credit bureaus. And that puts a freeze on your credit for 7 years. That's more intense. And that one credit bureau shares it with the other 2. So you only have to do it once to one of the credit bureaus and then they share it. But right now, what you should do to protect yourself, the lesson I learned was go and freeze your credit and unfreeze it when you need it. And every year, just put a reminder on your calendar to keep your credit frozen for a year, or do the extra level step, which is what I'm going to do now that I know that I've been a victim. And I'm going to be submitting all the paperwork for the 7-year freeze. I've already put the initial 1-year freeze on, but I want a more severe freeze on my credit because of this. Because this person is running around with an ID with with a lot of my information and potentially trying to open up other lines of credit. So do that. Now, people have been asking me, what about these companies that, they monitor your identity, they protect you from identity theft? I've had 2 of those services actively, and this still happened to me. So, maybe my information was already out there before I signed up for these services a year or 2 ago, or 3 years. One of the services I've had for many years.
Yeah, I don't even know if those services actually work the way that they say that they do. I haven't been able to get any concrete proof about that. And there's a lot of scams out there too. There's some of these companies that say we will protect you from this, and they actually don't. So you got to be careful But that is just really bizarre to me that someone was able to walk into the dealership pretending to be her and buy a car. But like I said, this happened to a teacher many years ago. It was one of the more prominent cases of identity theft before people even really knew what that was all about. It was such a big deal. They made a movie about it, but it was a teacher that it happened to, and someone did that to her. They stole her identity. They bought a car. They went on to try to buy a house. And could you imagine like someone on a teacher's salary, like having that happen to them? It happens. The woman who played in the movie, what's her name? Kimberly. She's the actress that was in Father of the Bride, and she was the bride. Do you remember the movie Father of the Bride? I can't remember, Kimberly something. I forget her last name, but she was the one that portrayed the teacher in the True Life movie. So check it out if you get a chance. You might be able to stream it. Miss Kiwi said, plus now she told us she's in Idaho. Kim's making it easy for scammers to find her or her info. That's another thing too. Yeah, I thought, I guess Kim must have moved. I thought she was in California. But it sounds like she did. So Williams. Yeah, Kimberly Williams. That's her name. Yeah, she was in Father of the Bride. She plays the teacher, the real life teacher that it happened to. So definitely check that out. Hey. All right. Let's get that comment on Rockfin. Then we'll go to the comments on the tube. All right. We can go to part 2 of Type V and C, Eric. Thank you, Stephanie. Hi, Sabby. Thanks to your guidance, we just held our first back to, where did we go here? Okay, there we go. Sorry. We first held our first back-to-back, yay, back to school mutual aid event in Southwestern Connecticut. We gave out 96 book bags filled with basic school supplies for grades 1 through 12, plus color pencils and markers for little kids, plus ice cream. All right, give it up for Stephanie. That's what I like to see, man. That is awesome. We also had an NAACP there to register voters. The event was held in conjunction with a weekly food pantry that feeds 200 families. Give it up for Stephanie. Whoop, whoop. Karim, thank you. That car is already in Mexico. And thank you for this one, Stephanie. Mutual aid continued. We also circulated an anonymous questionnaire asking people what they feel their communities need most. And it was a real opportunity to get some good information for future events. Thanks for the inspiration. Oh, well, thank you. This is great. This is what I'm talking about. More people doing mutual aid. And thank you, Roger. This is what the CFPB was supposed to prevent, but thanks to Trump, you're no longer protected. My suggestion is find out you have a state version of CFPB like New York State Department of Financial Services. The same thing as CFPB, but state level. To weaken the financial services industry and charter a public bank. It's very existent. It's built, operate at full capacity, completely devastating financial services and distribution. You have a network of them across the country, then you are trust busting. My credit is always frozen. Yeah, I mean, these are just some of the possibilities that you can do, you guys, like freezing your credit, having that spending limit on your accounts so that the charge doesn't go through in the first damn place. And like I said, it can be annoying, but hey, it can help you out later on. Yes, thank you. The next mutual aid workshop is September 3rd. That is a Saturday. I think that's Saturday. It should be a Saturday. It's got to be a Saturday. Hold on, let me see. 6th, sorry. September 6th, Saturday. I will promote that when we have Thursday's live stream. I'll show you that more. Thank you for the reminder. Let's go to the comments here. FM said companies can sell your information. That too. AM said someone stole mine. They bought blonde weaves. What? Corey said someone stole my identity and bought a car. Sounds like a title of a Jerry Springer episode. It does. It does. Thank you for the super chat, Unemployed Skylar. Internal bleeding ? Yeah, I don't know what that thing was on his hand. Skylar said that car salesman is probably like, so do I still get my commission? Yeah. And Zhao says, don't put money in a bank. Yeah, some people say that, like some older people say that as well. Don't put your money in the bank. All right, ladies and gents, smash that like button. Thank you. And quick announcements, ladies and gents. First of all, to all of you that came in person, thank you. It was great to meet you. We had a great time at the Icarus Fest. Here's just some of the pictures from the panels here. There's me, there's Max, there's Katie, there's Jeremy Lafredo. That was the Greater Israel panel. And shout out to Eric. I was able to post that panel on the channel. Thank you. And this was the Empire panel, I believe. That was Max, Anya, Aaron, and Christian Parenti. Great time there. I was so happy to meet some of you guys in person. So that was awesome. And I really like participating in panels. Also, we do have that teaser video for you. I told you guys I've been working on a documentary, and we are almost there, But I do have the teaser video for you that I told you I was going to show you. So here's the teaser for my documentary, Removed, Black Erasure in Boston. We're getting closer to the release date. You've been asking for the teaser, so here it is, fam. Yes, Boston is home to winning sports teams and elite universities. But some might say that there are two Bostons.
If you look at City Hall, no one's talking about that specific racial and historical component that Black people are the ones that are being removed.
There's a huge, significant difference in lived experiences, and we know this because of the wealth report. We're at $8.
This whole plan of gentrification isn't a new concept. In every city you go into in the Northeast, they kept moving Black people out of the inner city. So it's a plan. It's been in place for a long time.
While the displacement isn't as bad as 1963, it hasn't gotten much better now.
It's by design that they've created spaces where we are no longer seen anymore. They're wiping us out one community at a time, and they're getting away with it. This is gentrification. Franklin Park has been a place where we have built community, and all these things are at risk.
Why is the mayor willing to throw herself on this sword, do or die, for this project? It's not about soccer. It's about the additional profits that can be made in this entertainment complex. It's a disrespect that you would take public parkland and then give it to a private group to control it. And this project is Emmett Till's mama pulling back a curtain. And if people don't look at what's behind that curtain, it's coming to them.
All right, ladies and gents, that's the teaser there for the documentary. Yes, it has come to this. So Scott has been doing a really great job. And I think even seeing this on Twitter, the quality is 10 times better when you see it off of Twitter because they compress it and all that stuff. But anyway, I think he's doing a really great job. So I wanted to show you a little bit of something. Some people are not going to like this documentary. Like, I don't know, the mayor. Yeah, Mayor Wu is not going to like this. But it's not just about her. It's about what happened before her and all those who came before her and what they've allowed to happen and what they have supported throughout the years. So we'll get into all of it. I think it's coming along very well. And I think he's just been doing a really great job. Okie dokie. We're going to move on, folks, to the next story here. Okie dokie. We're switching gears here a little bit because we got to get into this Monique story. For those who are not aware, Monique, she's an actress, comedian. The first time I was aware of her, there was a show called The Parkers, and it was her and an actress. I think her name was Countess Vaughn. She was Moesha's friend on the sitcom Moesha. And anyway, The Parkers, it was a sitcom. It was pretty funny, pretty entertaining show. And Monique is a great actress, I think, in my opinion. She went on to do a movie called Precious, and that's where a lot of this begins. Now, you guys know that Tyler Perry has had his issues, or people have had their issues with him in the entertainment business. People have claimed he didn't pay the money that he was supposed to pay them. People have claimed that he sexually harassed them. You know, the stories just keep on coming. But Monique, her story still, you know, she still maintains it till this day. She has not changed her story, and she is still fighting for what is owed to her. And Monique has been very public about this, that billionaire Tyler Perry and billionaire Oprah Winfrey screwed her over. This is no different from when Taraji P. Henson said they screwed her over. I don't know. Sounds like a connection, don't you think? So this is where this all began, because Monique is still talking about it and people are like, just let it go. I really don't think she should let it go. So let's get into like how this all started. So there was Monique back in the day, Tyler Perry back in the day. And we're going to get into this. There was a movie called Precious, and it's interesting how all these pieces are connected, right? So it was Precious, the movie that kind of kicked things off. Low budget movie. Mariah Carey was in the movie. So, you know, going into it as low budget, you're not going to make a lot of money, right? So Monique was fine with that. She understood that she wasn't going to be paid, you know, a lot of money. She was passionate about the project, and that's why she wanted to do it. Interestingly enough, the girl on the thumbnail here for Precious, who is Precious, went on to star also in Empire. Empire was directed, produced by Lee Daniels. Lee Daniels is also a part of the Precious thing. So I don't know. It just seems like there seems to be a big connection here when we look at everything. During this project, apparently, it seems as though Tyler Perry started to put this rumor out into the Hollywood industry that Monique was difficult to work with. Now, the first time I heard this, I'm like, well, where have we heard this before? We heard this about Terrence Howard with the Iron Man project. You'll notice Terrence Howard was in the first Iron Man movie, but he wasn't in the second one or the third, like after that. And people ask, what happened to Terrence Howard? Why is Don Cheadle in Terrence Howard's role? Well, the press ran with the rumor that Terrence Howard was difficult to work with. So when I hear this whole people are difficult to work with thing, I don't know. I just get a little, you know, a little suspicious. I'm like, we got to find out why you think that they're so difficult. So it goes on to say here, I just want to explain to people what happened. After filming Rap for the movie Precious, where Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry served as executive producers, Monique received a request to embark on a press tour to promote the film. The original Queens of Comedy performer agreed to appear in a promotional interview and talk shows, but refused to fly out to attend the Cannes Film Festival in France. Now, Monique claims that producers urged her to promote the film at the prestigious event, though they explained that her appearance would be unpaid, as it was not part of her original contract for the film. So, in other words, she would have to fund this herself. I mean, France is not cheap. Like a trip to France isn't going to be cheap. And you just finished filming a low budget movie and you weren't paid much for that anyway. And now they're asking you to pay to send yourself to France. Mind you, Oprah and Tyler are billionaires. Let's continue though. So Monique refused to attend and later issued a statement to the Hollywood Reporter expressing her frustration with the producers. I'm doing a talk show. I'm doing a comedy tour. I have a husband and I have babies. I have a little bit of downtime and I'm going to take advantage of it. So I'm not going anywhere because I'm not obligated to go anywhere. And that's what started everything. From that moment, she appears to have become blackballed in the industry. Now, you'll go on to see it here. After Monique frustrated Tyler Perry and other producers of Precious, she claims her career suffered, and they labeled her with a scarlet letter of being difficult to work with. In the years following the inception of this feud, Monique says Precious director Lee Daniels has personally expressed regret regarding the way producers have treated her. However, Oprah and Tyler Perry have refused to publicly apologize. So I just see patterns. Taraji P. Henson spoke out about the treatment on the set of the remake of The Color Purple, which I don't think that should have ever happened, but here we are. And she said that not only was she underpaid, she said the trailers were a mess, etc. I guess the food was bad, all these things. And again, Oprah and Tyler are billionaires. So like I told you guys before, people become billionaires because they exploit the people who are under them. That's how they get there. Now, you guys got all these billions, but you can't give people decent food. You can't give them the salaries that they should get paid. And Oprah and Tyler have been known to move in such ways. So people that decided to speak out about it, it seems as though there seems to be this trend of Tyler Perry making it so that they are blacklisted in Hollywood. They put out the message that you are difficult to work with, and the next thing you know, they stop getting gigs. Coincidence? I think not. Monique claims to have an audio recording of Tyler Perry taken in 2022 in which the House of Pain creator agrees to mend fences and admits his wrongdoings publicly, though Perry seems to have never followed through on that promise. During her Club Shay Shay appearance, Monique explained that she sent the audio recording to controversial civil rights leader Al Sharpton, who agreed to step in and mediate a public discussion between them. Yeah, so that never happened. One thing I will say, I think it was a bad idea to send that to Al Sharpton of all people. But I think she was just trying to get the message out there. Now, we are bringing this up because she just did another interview. People are telling Monique that she needs to drop this and let this go, that she needs to stop, asking Tyler Perry to admit what he did. Why is she continuing to drag this on? And this is what she had to say. Let's listen to this here.
One of the biggest entertainers in the world is Tyler Perry. And Tyler Perry told a lie on me. And that lie cost me 12 years of my career. 12. And I know that you work for that man. But as I told you before, and I'm going to say it again, until he fixes it, I will not stop, because that's how the monster is created. We're too afraid. We're too scared. We're too fearful that you're going to take something from me. So I'm just not going to say anything. Harvey Weinstein is where? He's in jail. Now that's been going on for decades.
So you see this? So she was basically punished because she said something. I don't believe that Monique and Taraji P. Henson are the only ones that have had this treatment. I think they're the only ones that spoke up. And I believe that others are being quiet because they don't want to be blacklisted. And this is how the mistreatment continues, right? This is how Tyler Perry remains a billionaire and everybody else gets scraps that works underneath of him. And then some people will say, well, why not go work for another producer? Or why try to work with Tyler Perry? Because he has basically created a lane where some of those people probably wouldn't even get the opportunity if they try to audition, or they do audition for other films, other producers. They're not getting that opportunity. Tyler Perry was the one that kind of opened up that door and saying, I'm going to give you an opportunity, knowing that other people are not, right? So then he gets you in there. Now you're kind of up under his umbrella. And now it's like, he doing you dirty, but if you say something about it, he may make it so that you're blacklisted in Hollywood and you can't get any more gigs, just like Monique, and people got bills to pay. So I always said I think Monique was brave for speaking out. I think she made it possible for people like Taraji to stand up.
But everybody said, let it go. Don't say nothing, which allowed that man to do more damage to women over the decades. As long as I can help it, I'm saying, Tyler Perry, you will not do this to another, as long as I can help it, because you told a lie. And you feel like you have the God complex. So I ain't got to fix it. Either you'll fix it in life or you'll be dealt with in death.
So she said that he has a God complex. So ego. And it happens sometimes when people start doing very well, like Tyler Perry, when he started making some of his movies early on, like Why Did I Get Married? I thought was pretty good. Diary of a Mad Black Woman, I thought was pretty good. But then I noticed he stuck to the same theme. Black woman gets hurt, abused, used, finds a light-skinned guy, everything works out. It was just like the same thing over and over. Black woman gets hurt and abused and yada yada, right? So I think his earlier works were better. And then as time went by, it seemed like he became more focused on quantity instead of quality. And that's when things, I think, started to go down. So I think that because he was able to build his own studio, that was a big deal. I remember when that happened. Because he became a billionaire, yeah, I think that went to his head. I do think that Tyler Perry has an ego. I think Oprah has an ego too. So you got two people with big ass egos and they're both billionaires. And it's kind of stomp on people. And then when you call them out, you know, because everybody's like, oh, don't talk about Oprah, our beloved Oprah. Then when you say something, you call them out for what they've done. You're the problem. You're the one that is blacklisted. I guess Tyler Perry's apology to Taraji P. Henson was featuring her as the star in the movie, what is it, from Scratch or whatever, that movie we're talking about, Snapped, something like that. You guys know what I'm talking about. It seems like for me that was his way of apologizing. Oh, you got to give people what they're owed. And if you owe people money, you got to pay people money. And now we didn't have multiple people now that have come forward and said Tyler Perry did them dirty monetarily. And Monique is not willing to let it go. Straw. Thank you. See, I couldn't even remember the name. But you got to pay people what they're owed.
It's totally up to you. But I'm not going nowhere. Oprah, I'm not going anywhere until y'all take accountability and fix it. Y'all messed with my livelihood, which messes with my family. Never would I do that to anyone. So until they fix it, I won't back down.
Well, let me ask you, what does fixing it look like to you?
You see what Lee Daniels did?
Mm-hmm.
That man walked out on that stage publicly. See, you publicly shamed me.
So her response is, until Tyler Perry fixes this, she's not going away. In other words, Tyler Perry owes Monique a public apology, which he has not done. And, I don't even think he's going to do, but you can't fault her for still bringing it up. She was done wrong. And let me tell you something. Monique is from Baltimore. And you know, my family's from Baltimore too. Monique is from Baltimore. Be more women don't play. You screw one of us over, we're kind of not going to let that go. Kind of not going to let it go, you know? So yeah, Monique had to fight to get to where she is. And she's not backing down from it.
You publicly shamed me. So now you have to publicly fix it. Tyler Perry, you cost my family millions and millions and millions of dollars. And it is a beautiful thing when you tip somebody $3,000. It's a beautiful thing when you give somebody $400,000 because their house burned down. Those are good deeds. However, you know what you did to a Black woman named Monique. So all of that, the universe is watching and saying, okay, we see what you're trying to do, but you can't fool us. And I don't believe I'm the only one.
No.
Of course not. You don't do that to somebody and it be your first time. You don't, because you're too comfortable in doing it. And when you get that God complex, the universe is watching everything.
And this is kind of their way of fixing it, right? Well, I donated money to such and such. I bought someone a house. I bought someone a car. That doesn't change the fact that you still haven't apologized for what you did to Monique. So yeah, you cost her a lot of money. You cost her roles. You know, you see how people do you dirty. And this is the thing. People might look at us like, well, Tyler Perry's Black and Monique is Black. Like, why can't they just work it out? People do you dirty. Hollywood or Hollyweird, whatever they call it nowadays, is a dirty, dirty place from what I understand. And people I know that have moved out there to try to get something started. A dirty, dirty place. So just because they're both Black doesn't mean that he's going to be good to her. Okay? He looking out for himself.
Fixing it means you apologize publicly and you cost my family millions.
So it's you want to, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just deciphering. You want a public apology and you want restitution.
Yes. And I say that unapologetically. You are on tape saying what you did to me was wrong. You are on tape. That's your voice, Tyler Perry. You called us. We didn't call you. You said what he did to me was wrong, and he was going to fix it when his movie Boo came out. When did Boo come out? 2016. We are now in 2025, and you've not fixed that. You've not fixed it.
And see, Monique keeps up with dates, which I think is great. She keeps up with dates. Yeah, man. That's something that Tyler Perry needs to fix. And I think Monique will talk to whoever will listen, right? About the situation. Like, why should she let it go? So yeah, it's come to this. And people are saying, they're like, why is she still talking about this all these years later? Because she wants what is owed to her. I don't know, man. I don't know. I do think ego is a part of this, but honestly, I think that Tyler Perry made a lot of money for himself, and I think he's looking out for himself. And for the people pointing their fingers at Monique saying, okay, just let it go. Okay, but if she lets it go, who's going to really stand up to him, though? She lets it go. Nobody else is going to want to stand up to him. That's the thing. So I sincerely hope that this is resolved and that she does get what is owed to her, because there's a debt, something that's owed there. You screwed her over, and that is owed. Highly weird, man. Highly weird. Let's go to the comments. Thank you for the super sticker at Nexus Games. Black owned, I see you put up, so I'll shut up. Props. Oh, thank you, Nexus Games. Thank you so much. Let's get the comment on Rumble and we'll go to our next story. Hey. Thank you for the Rumble rants. Tanya, please advise homeowners to get title deed alerts from their municipalities. Ooh, that is smart. That is a good idea. Hey, someone listening over there. Tanya's been listening. Tanya knows what's up. What is it? All right, ladies and gents, thank you. Thank you so much. We have one more story. If you haven't done so, could you smash the like? Thank you. And if you're new, could you like, sub, and share? Just like a Care Bear. This one's interesting. MEHDI HASAN and Ali Abunimah have gotten into a sort of a spat. And Ali is a journalist for the Electronic Intifada. He's done amazing work, and they're one of the ones that did not repeat the outlandish October 7th sexual assault hoax. They're one of the ones that didn't fall for that. So they've done really great work. And you all know who MEHDI HASAN is. MEHDI HASAN was on MSNBC, and then, they kind of pushed him out of there after October 7th, along with others. And then he went on to start a company called Zeteo, where he's kind of doing his own thing, where they have like a YouTube channel. And I believe there's written journalism as well. So this is what went down. Basically, to make a long story short, MEHDI HASAN is upset that some people are giving Marjorie Taylor Greene credit for calling a genocide and not giving credit to AOC. So let's see where this all starts. Here's MEHDI HASAN here. I'm sorry, but the new love for Marjorie Taylor Greene from some pro-Palestine folks combined with the hate for AOC is insane. ABUNIMAH, that's Ali. Ali has spent the past 22 months attacking AOC, calling her a fraud, but now says thank you to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's just compare their Israel-Gaza record, shall we? So let's pause there, because I think MEHDI's being disingenuous here. So here's the thing. The reason why people like Ali are saying thank you to Marjorie Taylor Greene is because she's doing something that we did not expect her to do. Most of the conservatives in DC, most of them are not speaking out against what Israel is doing. Most of them are not calling it a genocide. And we didn't expect them to. We expect AOC and Bernie and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and all them. We expect them to call it a genocide because they don't take money from AIPAC. They were a part of DSA. DSA had this policy, against visiting Israel, etc. We don't have to go through all that again, but you guys know where I'm getting from there. But we expect to hear that from them. We don't expect it from Marjorie Taylor Greene. And even when I covered it, even I said Marjorie Taylor Greene's criticism for Israel is mild, but she's still saying it's a genocide when the rest of her colleagues are not. Right? So let's go on and see what else he's saying here. AOC called for a ceasefire shortly after October 7th. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't and said anyone that is pro-Palestinian is pro-Hamas, and filed a censure resolution against Rashida Tlaib, calling her anti-Semitic and pro-terrorist. This is true. I covered that when it happened. AOC was one of only 9 House members to vote against a blindly pro-Israel resolution in the wake of October 7th. Marjorie Taylor Greene was one of the co-sponsors of that pro-Israel resolution. AOC voted again and again to restrict arms to Israel in 2024. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't. AOC boycotted Netanyahu's speech to Congress in 2024. Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't. AOC first called out the genocide in Gaza on the House floor in March of 2024. Marjorie Taylor Greene said the G word for the first time only a few weeks ago. AOC defended pro-Palestine students on campus. Marjorie Taylor Greene called for their deportation. And most recently, Marjorie Taylor Greene put out a doctored image of a niqab on the Statue of Liberty after Zohar Mandami won the NYC primary. That's Islamophobic tweet is still up. But Ali says thank you to her and compares her record on Gaza favorably to AOC's, because Marjorie Taylor Greene said a few anti-Israeli things in recent weeks and did one good vote after nearly 2 years of backing Israel and voting to arm and fund the genocide. We are now expected to believe that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a hero and AOC is a villain on Gaza. Like I said, insane. So let's stop there for just a second, and then we'll get to what Ali said here. So again, to my point, we expected AOC to do those things. It's like giving someone a cookie for doing their job. Like, we expect that. The reason why people are like, whoa, well, thank you, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is because we did not expect her to do this. Yeah, she did come after the pro-Palestinian protesters. I covered that. I told you, like, when she was calling it genocide, I was like, remember, she was the one that came after, like, a lot of us and stuff like that. Now she sees differently, right? And under a Trump administration. So my whole thing is, the applause that MTG is getting is because we did not expect it. We expect it from AOC and from Bernie Sanders. And to be fair, when he's talking about the way that AOC has voted, he admits the fact that she voted for the defense of Israel. She still voted to protect the Iron Dome, which we've seen her do this before. And as we said, what's the big deal with that? That's like giving a school shooter, a bulletproof vest and saying, have at it. So there's different things that's happening here, but this is what Ali said. This is what he's talking about. The last time Representative AOC posted anything about Gaza was 1 month ago. This is him retweeting Marjorie Taylor Greene. And she said, if America was being bombed day and night because of something horrific our government did, and many innocent Americans and American children were being killed and traumatically injured, and we begged for mercy, but the rest of the world said ... Right. So he's retweeting that, and he's saying she hasn't said anything. AOC hasn't said anything about Gaza for about a month. And this pins to, if you guys haven't seen the interview, check it out with Chris Smalls and Bree on Bad Faith. Check that interview out that happened this week. I talked to Chris about a week and a half ago. He reiterated the same thing. Chris Smalls said in the Bad Faith interview with Bree that AOC and Bernie are not welcomed in those encampments now because of the way they have moved on this position with Israel, because Bernie still won't call it a genocide, because yes, AOC, called it a genocide. But when she said that Kamala was working tirelessly for a ceasefire, which turned out to be, I told you guys then it was a lie. When that was proven to be a lie, like people look at her some kind of way. there's that. There's voting to protect the Iron Dome, right? So, like I said, there's certain behaviors that we expect from certain politicians because of who they don't take money from and because of the positions that they had when they ran. And then there's certain positions that we just do not expect, like from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Ali went on to say here, thank you, MTG. Even if I don't agree with every word, you have more courage and integrity than most. This is why AIPAC, the lobby of murderous foreign regime that would cease to exist without U.S. taxpayer funding, is attacking you. Palestinians want no money from America. Ali, by the way, is Palestinian, right? So that's what started this. MEHDI also responds by saying, is AOC perfect? Of course not. She's a politician. Do I agree with her on the Iron Dome position? No. But does she have a better record on Palestine than 99% of Congress? Yes. And especially better than MTG's. It's insane that this is even a point of contention. All you got to do is look at the comments. Starry Eyes says, how is her record better than MTG when AOC never even presented legislation of any sort, let alone of not sending certain funds to Israel? Because MTG did, not an arms embargo, but well beyond lip service, unlike AOC. Dean, to be fair, MTG has been pretty critical of Israel and its genocide in Gaza. You know, there are a number of people, TSM, imagine lecturing Ali ABUNIMAH about Gaza. Hypocrites love to sell themselves to liberal Democrats. She's been lying since the DNC convention. Wake up, MEHDI, or you got to sell more subscriptions. Yeah. So you guys get the idea how people felt about this, right? So Ali does respond, and this is the part I think that people forget that MEHDI did. Again, both of them are journalists. Ali says, just a reminder that gun for hire MEHDI Hasan fervently promoted the October 7th hoax, atrocity, propaganda, the rape hoax, atrocity propaganda, and has never retracted. That's all you need to know. His priority is always to ingratiate himself and suck up to people in power. I couldn't care less about American politicians and their parties because I appreciate anyone who speaks out against Congress-funded Holocaust in Gaza, and no representative is doing it louder right now than Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's unexpected and welcome. No one is stopping the others from outdoing her, including Weasley, Slippery, Representative AOC. So I think this points to a different message. Ali, as you guys know, I covered this months ago. He was detained for being a journalist. Like, he was detained for being a pro, Gaza journalist while he was traveling to cover a story. And if you notice, MEHDI is not detained. He's not going to be, because he's not considered a threat to the status quo, not a threat to the system. These are things people really need to pay attention to, right? Again, here, the rape hoax after October 7th, this was one of the things where I think it kind of showed you who was repeating propaganda and who was actually doing the research. At that point in time, Electronic Intifada, which Ali is a part of, The Gray Zone, and Mondeweiss, they broke that story to reveal to everybody that this was all a lie and there was no truth about that, no evidence, nothing, including that some of the people, the women that came forward, retracted their statements and said, no, that didn't happen, that type of thing. Even after there was published articles and after people like Max Blumenthal and et cetera went on to multiple shows to debunk the October 7th sexual assault hoax, MEHDI Hasan continued to spread the propaganda that it was true. Again, they're both journalists. So this is why I say, and let me come out here for a second. This is why I say, pay very close attention to those who are considered to be a threat to power and those who are not. So of course, MEHDI came forward and he said, that was before I knew anything. But this is not completely true, because a number of people reported this story. Even at one point, Breaking Points also reported that story, which I know he follows. He retweets Crystal Ball and Ryan Grimm. So that story was all out there, and he didn't want to come back and retract it. So check this out. Iman is sharing this post here from MEHDI right here, right? So they're referring to this tweet. We'll get to that. Let's start here. Look at the date. All these reports were purely Israeli, and 0 Palestinians are allowed to report on it. So it tells us, if this was the 1940s, would you be pandering to a both side narrative and believing the Waffen SS statements on Jewish atrocities against the Nazis? So they're talking about this comment here from MEHDI HASAN, November 7th, 2023. Screened footage showed literal streams of blood, hacked off arms and legs, and an infant missing part of its skull, brain leaking out. I've said it before, you can oppose what Israel is doing in Gaza without denying what Hamas did on October 7th. That was MEHDI HASAN repeating pro-Israeli propaganda when many of us in independent media were debunking that story. Yeah, that's a problem. So that's the thing. He tried to both sides it, right? Like, he's one of the ones that says, like, well, Hamas is bad, but you know what Israel is doing is wrong, is genocide, there's oppression and occupation. But at the same time, Hamas is bad, and then they put the babies in the ovens and all that stuff. He was playing both sides. That's why he's not considered a threat. Now, he will say, well, that was 2023. I didn't know. People were already debunking it then. Journalists were debunking it then, right? So we go on here where he said, look at the date. I think this picks up here. Yeah. Shadow Man said, MEHDI, I am really confused. Why did you post that when you know it is fake and lies, and every accusation they throw at Palestinians, it is an admission from the Zionists of doing it? And so they're talking about this. A Times investigation uncovered new details showing a pattern of rape, mutilation, and extreme brutality against women in the attacks on Israel. Horrific testimony from eyewitnesses, as well as photographic evidence seen by Times reporters, hard to read. Yeah, because the New York Times was never known to be pro-Israel. And MEHDI HASAN not only fell for it, but he continued to spread that propaganda to other people. When there were independent journalists that were proving that this was false. That's the problem. So you can like MTG, you can dislike MTG. You can like AOC, you can dislike AOC. I don't care. At the end of the day, what this is really about is people who spread propaganda or both sides an issue so that they are not a threat to power and they can continue to maintain that status quo. And that's how I looked at this conversation. Now, he's going to say, look at the date, right? So he said, look at the date side. So that date is December 28th, 2023. Right. But at that time, even before then, that story was already debunked. That's the problem. And the fact is, as a journalist, and MEHDI says he's a journalist, as a journalist, why would you, as someone who worked in corporate media and you know how the sausage is made, why would you take the New York Times word on that story, knowing that they were pro-Israel, knowing that Israel lies? Why wouldn't you seek out more information? But he put it out there, you see? So he continued that. He was one of the people that did that. Sometimes you leave corporate media, but corporate media don't leave you. So you continue that same type of behavior. Look at what some of the people said. We'll see Raja here. MEHDI HASAN's defense of AOC at the expense of Ali shouldn't be surprising to anyone. His loyalty to the Democrats and the empire drives that kind of journalism he provides, starting from demonizing Hamas to pushing the two-side narrative. And this is the kicker here, folks. Right? So when Ali posted this tweet, let's go back to Ali. When Ali posted this, he was not responding to MEHDI HASAN. And yet, MEHDI HASAN felt the need to jump in and defend AOC because that's what MEHDI is there to do. Professor Rafir, who was killed in Gaza, he told people about what MEHDI was doing. Ali has more integrity in the nail of his pinky finger than MEHDI HASAN has had in his entire body. To quote Rafat, MEHDI HASAN is an asshole. This was, remember Rafat in Gaza? This was the professor who was killed. They targeted his home. MEHDI, for rejecting to listen to Palestinian voices and amplifying Zios and lib Zios, is an asshole. I repeat, MEHDI HASAN is an asshole. And that was Rafat, rest in peace, retweeting MEHDI HASAN saying, separate to anything else. This in and of itself is some good news. Again, that was 2021. So you see, that was before October 7th. He been doing this. I think this person here said it very well, Jenin. Jenin said, the difference is that MTG exemplifies someone who didn't know what she was talking about for a long time and then changed her mind once she learned and now has the courage and integrity to vote and speak accordingly. AOC, on the other hand, who has said almost nothing about Gaza for a year. I don't know if that's true. It's been a year. I think she has. I don't think it's been more than a year. I don't think it's been that long since she said something about Gaza, but engages in the behavior of someone whose real motivations are not moral ones, but cynical political calculations. She presents herself as a social justice warrior while she has mentioned the genocide maybe once or twice on Twitter in the last 6 months. Moreover, it is harder to go against Israel as a Republican. That's why people are giving Marjorie Taylor Greene so much credit, and we want to encourage other members of Congress to do the same. And to effectuate that result, they have to know that they have widespread public support, even if they don't have AIPAC money. So no, it's not insane to give Marjorie Taylor Greene a lot of credit and to be critical of AOC. Yeah, I think that Jenin put it very well. There's what you expect from people and there's what you don't expect from people, right? So why are we giving a lot of credit to someone for doing something that they're supposed to do? Right. And then especially after, AOC said working tirelessly for a ceasefire and that turned out to not, she wasn't telling the truth then. And I told people she wasn't telling the truth. Ilhan Omar had to call her out about that, like publicly. So it's obvious people are here trying to focus on their careers. And that's really what this is about. MEHDI doesn't want to rock the boat. Like he wants to call out Israel, but he doesn't want to rock the boat too much that it's going to hurt him when it comes to his career. And don't forget that MEHDI HASAN has more resources and more access than Ali does with Electronic Intifada. So if you have more money and more resources and more access, you have the ability to dig deeper with some of these, stories than Ali does. So to me, there was just no excuse, man. There was no excuse. Has more resources than the gray zone, has more resources, and is in inner circles that the rest of us are not in. So there's really no excuse, except if you're trying to protect the status quo. And to date, I still say even Marjorie Taylor Greene's criticism of Israel is still mild. Now, if she comes forward and she says something like, well, they had the right to resist because they were occupied and under international law, they can do that, then I feel a little bit differently. And I think people really need to look at what international law says and go from there. But Mehdi, on the other hand, like Ali, knows what international law says. So when you know what international law says and you don't want to bring that message forward, that says a lot. That says a lot. I think Ali's fantastic. If you don't follow the Electronic Intifada, please make sure you follow them. Check out their work. They're doing really good things with less resources and less access, and they're killing it over there. So yeah, ladies and gents, it has come to this. Like, he had to go attack Ali. Why are you attacking Ali? Ay. New York Varsity said there are a lot of people on the right side of history who are politically dense on other issues, agree when they are right, disagree when they are wrong. That's what I say. Clever says Ali. There you go. All right, let's go to the comments over here. Thank you, Kenman. Mehdi always seemed to parrot Guardian points. Yeah, well, I think that Mehdi and Owen, what's his name, Owen Jones, I think they're kind of in that same camp where they tend to report the way that the Guardian would report. And thank you for this one, Kenman. Naomi Klein, also a massive grifter on Palestine. Yeah. Crystal says she needs to go further with her criticism of Israel. Exactly. She does. She does. Let's get the comment on Rumble. Hey. Thank you for the Rumble rant, Patch. Everyone has eyes swimming in lies. Propaganda like bake sale cupcakes. Cupcakes. Thank you, Goo. Rifat was killed after Barry Weiss went on X and told the IDF to strike him down. She is an accomplice to murder. Yes, I remember that. Yeah, it's just crazy. Rest in peace, Rifat. Crazy stuff, folks. I feel like I had one more thing to show you guys before I go. I just don't want to forget. Oh, I guess not. I thought I had something else I was going to show you guys and now I forgot. I don't know, man. Oh, well, maybe it'll come back to me. No, I have something I need to show you. Oh, yes, Aisha. Poll? Oh. I'll discuss it Thursday, Eric, since we'll do call in on Thursday. Thank you, Goo. I remember I got to show this for Aisha. Let me just go to Twitter. Thank you, Goo. Mehdi does not rock the boat even with Israeli spokesperson, and he got fired from MSNBC. No one learns Megyn did Holocaust denial, and Zios are still after her after the MTG interview. Ooh, that is interesting. I did not know that. Yes, guys, I do have an update for you. I think it was last week. Aisha, she's a part of the Boston Mutual Aid chapter with me. One of my comrades. Aisha has helped a lot of people. I think I told you guys that her landlord family decided to sell the apartment building that she was in. Well, the good news is it appears that she has found a place to stay. She has until September 30th to leave there. But she does need some help with fundraising. Her goal has been decreased now to 6,600. If you can help Aisha, please do so. Let's share her link in the chat. Eric, Aisha is a single mom. She is just trying to find a place to live because the landlord family decided to sell the building that she's been living in. And it really sucks. I know a number of people been through this, man, where this is what I was talking about, how they just sell the building. Private equity is a part of this too. They just sell the building and then they're like, well, yeah, you got to go find somewhere else to go. And here in Massachusetts, like, I don't know if everyone knows, but like here, like you got to have 3 months up front. Like you can't just show up and say, hey, Oh, I'll share it, Eric. You can't just show up and say, hey, I have the rent for the first month, but I don't have the rent for the second month. You can't do that. So if you can help out Aisha, I think Eric, oh, you have it now. Okay. I think Eric's putting the link to that in the chat. Please donate, to her if you can. September 6th, if you are interested in learning how to do mutual aid, please attend my mutual aid workshop. It's free. You'll get up with me Saturday morning. Had quite a good attendance last time. So people are already starting to do things. Like, people need help. People need community. And I really do think that we all need to try to help each other or people within our community as much as we can. Thank you so much, Eric. So that's Aisha's fundraiser there, which Eric just put the link there in the chat if you guys can help her out. All righty. Thank you guys so much. Okie dokie. Thursday night, join me live Thursday evening, ladies and gents, with special guest Amanda Seals will be here, and I hope we can have a fun time. You guys have been asking for it. I finally, I was able to get in touch with her. So actress, comedian, activist, Miss Amanda Seals, who was just on that Jubilee episode that everybody has been talking about. She will be here with me Thursday night. Don't miss it. Should be a good time. Other than that, guys, have a good night. Keep up the fight. Hey, hey, hey. Oops, wrong card. There we go. Keep up the fight.